can't handle none of this. I want to hurt myself. Lost some in the big night. Just a touch of your skin, creeping in the background, blowing on the wind. I'll sleep until morning through a crack inside. I am going nowhere. I am far away. Angels and his demons, many souls to save. So it's safer in the shadows, where fewer eyes can see. Wish I could get away from here, someplace out of reach.
Hello. Oh, we're back. Tyranny. So when I last streamed this, we finished the first act of this game basically. I vaguely remember what was happening. It's been a while though. Certainly don't know what was on the agenda because I had just finished a bunch of stuff. But we'll figure it out. There's actually two cats on camera, but Rose is under the blanket. That's the blob that Dio is kind of hidden behind a little bit. That's Rosa. The athletic skill can be used to intimidate characters in conversations. Alright, so here we are on top of the spire. That's verse. Alright. People want to talk to us, but we're gonna wait on that. Go into here and refresh ourselves. Okay, this is me. Well, okay, what was that? Special weapon. Oh, well, we don't probably have a lot of crits. Not that we would want to be using that anyway. It'd be someone else using it, but I don't really trust crit effects in video games unless there's an actual, in D&D, the only time crit effects matter are if you're going for a crit fishing build and you have to actually do things to make your crits regular enough that you can rely on them in combat. And in most video games, that is either... Most video games with crit-related effects, I feel like that's not usually possible. There are some games where you absolutely can get crits all the time, but... okay, right. I'm trying to refresh my memory of how the systems of this game work. Oh yeah, it's got the Elder Scrolls style skills that go up as you use them, which is interesting for a game like this. Why is that all suppressed? That doesn't make any sense. Hope that's incorrect. Interesting. Get a pretty. That seems like a pretty significant bonus for resting at the spire. Oh, Dio's trying to get at Rosa. Oh, this game is not audible at that level. I'm gonna put it up a bunch. Hopefully that's not too loud. We'll see. This is my skills. Yeah. Okay. I don't really have very much here. Where's my, Oh, I guess because, okay. Interesting. This is okay. This is important. I'll come back to that. Right, my reputations. Yeah, Graven, the voice in rat really doesn't like me. Spells. Okay. Wow, you have some fucking... Really? Wow. Alright. That's cool. anomalies, but that's cool. Spire upgrades. Oh boy. Resting in any spire. Okay, so we may get more spires. Oh, these are all spires. Oh wow, that's a lot of spires. We got a lot more spires to slay. We also have these guys. This is very pillars. Oh, look at all those. That's cool. Change which skills you are proficient in. Provides food, regularly produces weapons, a trainer, battlefield scavenger. I wonder why this guy's more expensive than this guy. Corpse Eye. Also create camping supplies. Okay. This is our missives. Okay, let's go back and look at our journal. Beric wants to know if there's a way he can be freed from his armor. Sure, his companion quest. Tunon is the voice for Curious in the Tears, who wants to know the specifics of what transpired with Vendrian's well. Travel to Tunon's court in the Bastard City. Okay, sure. Giving you the power to interact with the Spire. Before you ascended, you had a vision where the edict broke. Understanding this vision might help you grasp this new power you've acquired. Okay. Find a way to the Lethian's Crossing. Okay. Okay. Alright, let's talk to Beric. Game is paused. Fatebinder, if you have a moment. Beric stands at attention, his rigid bearing making of him an unmoving statue. Been a number of times since I came to service, in which I have not agreed fully with your choices. That said, never have I truly questioned your judgment. Hope this pattern holds after you hear the request I now make of you. I don't remember what Beric likes and dislikes, but I don't think he wants me to tell him to relax. He's very intense. What do you want? Hope that perhaps the adjudicator would hear my case. Tune on? What are you talking about? I have been encased in this. He wraps a gauntlet against the shards of corroded iron and bronze that sweep across his chest. Shell, since Kairos' edict of storms made a grave old stalwart, incurred in service to the Overlord, and I would ask that the Overlord free me of its burden. Well, Tunon can't order Kairos to take your armor off. I have several daydreams that would take issue with your statement. What? You're adjusting nicely, Ebb. I wasn't going to ask for the Overlord to do it personally. His metal plates grind together as he shifts. The Forge-bound Guild swore its services to the Adjudicator. If any hope of my freedom from this carapace exists, it lies with them. Well, I will happily make your case to the Archon. That's fine. He can still wear armor. He just won't be stuck in it. Thank you, Fatebinder. His salute rings like a poorly cast bell. I eagerly await the Archon's judgment. Okay. Let's talk to Ebb. I don't know. I don't remember if we talked to Ebb at all, since we, I believe, just recruited her by defeating all of her friends and killing most of them.
Salutations, Fatebinder. Or should I now call you Lady of Vendrian's Well? The Spire Queen? Princess of the suggestive vertical slab?
Well, Cade would suffice.
So if I might ask, what is your plan now? The edict no longer looms overhead, and Kairos' conquest of the Tears seems to be slipping, what with the armies and civil war.
All of the Overlord's minions will fall. Wow. Well, I'm kind of improvising. Any suggestions?
My first suggestion would be to build a boat. Something durable, and take our chances on the high seas far from Kairos.
Hi, Mary. How's it going?
I have a second and more practical suggestion. Look to the horizon and slightly up. By that I mean the other spires. We should see what's atop the others. Otherwise someone else might look first.
I'm alright. I'm glad you're doing well. Oh, deal. What do you know about the spires?
Not nearly enough, apparently. To me, they've always been axioms of navigation. You can triangulate a lot of things with a sextant and a clear view to a spire or two. We've long known the spires radiate strong magical fields, and all save the mountain spire connect to the old walls. So it's the sort of thing common folk know from afar, but avoid day to day.
Well, first order of business, I have to go speak with Tunon. He's my boss.
I would counsel you to do just that. I'm sure the events of Vendrian's Well are best explained from your mouth to Tunon's ears. Furthermore, I'd guess the Archon of Justice would want to know your take on the Archons and their divide.
It's weird that this dialogue keeps all of these options here. These are the options to say what you were planning to do. It's weird to keep coming back to it.
Well, short of Tunon giving you orders on pain of death, you have the luxury of acting on your own volition. Though the Scarlet Chorus are likely to come for you. Whatever you decide, I'm at your disposal.
Your assistance will be most helpful. Thank you.
And I am thankful to not be a bloody pile of offal in Vendrian's Well. Life under your banner will, I'm sure, prove most interesting.
Let's speak further.
What is it you need?
I don't know what the difference between these two things are.
Oh, we're working with the disfavored. You want my advice? My advice would be to get close to Graven Ash and plunge a poisoned shiv in his ear.
How exactly do you think one goes about doing this? Barrack's not gonna appreciate my entertaining this suggestion.
Well, if you're working with Graven Ash, give it your all. Offer to help the Archon of War with whatever he needs. The stronger the Legion, the weaker the Chorus. And if you get close enough to him, well, with enough trust, you could get very close to the Archon of War.
I don't think he's gonna... I don't think I can get that close with him, Eb.
Not saying it's a quick plan, but I think if you stay close in his confidence, the moment to strike will reveal itself in time.
It's just like, you should be trying to kill all of them. Like, yes, well, how'd that go for you?
Ask away.
Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your name. Well, I was born Hazen Lavanja, but for most of my life, and I suppose all the days after, I'm known and will be known as Ebb. Tidecaster Ebb, for those trying to be obsequious. I also probably used a bunch of aliases. They're going to haunt me at some point. I can see why you changed your name. Hazen. Didn't realize you were nobility. Didn't realize that meant that she was nobility. I know, I dress myself, cook my own food. So misleading. Mother was a magistrate of Arden, father was admiralty. It's mostly meaningless though. Our lands are now the overlords. How'd you get your nickname? It's one of those not especially funny jokes that stuck long past its season. I wrote the word Ebb incorrectly on a written examination. Master Fulvex started calling me Ebb from then on. He claimed it fit me, said I was a cynical little shit that always sees the ebb, never the flow. That's a lot more specific. I thought it was just because she was a water mage. Did you always want to be a tidecaster when you grew up? So when I was a little girl, what I really wanted was to be a marine. The burly bitch at the prow of a trireme, first to crack some skulls when the ship's rammed. You know, an honest living. Fortunately, the school sought me out before I got myself killed at sea. The School of Tides was looking for new blood, and my father was an admiral of Haven, so the school wanted me for the political connections. I got to spend my first couple of years proving I actually belong with the Tidecasters. That was fun. What did you do in the years before the war? My husband, was born in Apex, and he left his prosperous lands to be with me. So when the nest was empty, it seemed right that we leave my homeland and see his side of the tears. We had a year and a bit to ourselves for the war upturned things. We saw all of Apex. I took him along with all my old sailing routes, around Five Wives and Sunder. Those were good times. Then came the war, and I learned I would be one of the last tiersmen to live free of Kairos. Ever since then, I think Oathbreaker has technically been my chosen profession. Tell me about your family. Trying to salt old wounds? They're all gone. But if you really care to know, I had a husband, 3 kids, siblings I didn't hate. Every family has its troubles. I was lucky that awkward and stilted dinner banter was the worst of it. Tell me about your husband. Palox Aldenos and I were married in 410. Is this how people would talk about it? Aldenos was a Falksman of the Vedrian Guard back before they were starving partisans. But I saw him more as a carpenter. Woodworking was just a hobby of his, but my fondest memories are of him trying to shape something, and me making stupid jokes about the firmness of his materials. Alright then. What became of him? He perished at the gates of judgment. I saw him die. I don't wish to discuss it, just know I've made my peace with it, and am glad I was with him on the field of battle when his time came. I miss him, but it might have been for the best. He was only a few years older than me. My studies left me always a bit younger than him. The difference grew with time. Huh. I don't really know what that means. Aldenis was slowing down, and half figured the Gates of Judgment would be his last battle. If anything, he got exactly the death he wanted. So, in that sense, I'm very happy for him. Tell me about your children. There were the twins, Drevenor and Lorma, then my youngest son, Akamus. Aldenos wanted more, but I was nearing the end of my trial at the School of Tides, and dealing with lethal magics is a terrible idea when with child. These are some fantasy-ass names. Drevenor and Lorma followed my husband's trade, took to the Falks. Akamus liked the harp more than people. Can't blame him one bit. I made sure my children could read, and I'm damn proud of that fact. Probably the only thing I did right. One of the twins. They died at the Gates of Judgment. Or at least Drevenor died, run through by a disfavored spear. Lorma was at the battle, but I don't know what became of her. My fear has been she was recruited by the Scarlet Chorus. Perhaps she has a new name, if she's still alive. There were the twin... Okay. Yeah, that's interesting that it reverts the dialogue. What became of your youngest? Without Drevenor and Lorma, Akamis, well, he never quite took his own life in 430. And shrugs, her eyes glancing far away. I should have put him on a trireme and shoved him out onto the high seas. Didn't ask for his birth, nor did I prepare him for the bitterness that life would offer. Very sorry for your loss. Spare me the sorrow. We've all lost family to Kairos. I just lost 2 in one battle, but even then, I'm hardly unique. What about the rest of your family? How did they die? My family's Haven folk through and through. My mother prided herself on being descended from a Hazen Raban, one of the founding magistrates of the city of Ardent. Jokes aside, mouth twisting in thought. Sad thing is, they died during the conquest, but that's not how I lost contact. I lost contact because magic and travel became my life. I had plenty of time to get to know them as an adult, but I simply missed it. But that one's my fault. I can't rightly blame Kairos for everything. That's rude. She's seen a lot of people die. I feel like it's okay for her to not be super, to be not externally troubled by everything. Especially to me. How did you fall in with the Vedrian Guard? And what does it matter now that they're gone? They seem the last hope for the Tears. And a ninny-shitting fuck of a chance, still more than no chance at all.
Ask away.
Okay then. Um, let's speak of magic.
You know, I normally charge for this, but for you...
Eb smiles, awaiting your query. But for you, I live only because you allow me to live, so I'll do what you say. What can you tell me about your magical tradition?
Now, you know that's a very personal question. The knowledge I have is a centuries-old gift from the Archon of Tides. I would sooner discard my life than the sanctity of that gift. I will speak in generalities only.
Ask. Worst I can do is not tell you. Okay. Wow. This is a lot of dialogue. Tell me about how you influenced Tyrannus Grave. I don't know what Tyrannus Grave is. This is a trade secret, or at least it was a trade secret up until a few years ago. My masters were taken before the voices of Rat, and he pried that wisdom for their minds. Not that I'm still bitter. Oh, excuse me. Right, that's because I gave them to him. Tell me how you influence ice, mist, and other forms of water. With years of training. Now look, most of those secrets have already been stolen ages ago by the sages. Doesn't mean I'm gonna tell you, just because the secret's already out. But it means you can go ask someone else if you really feel so entitled to know. And before you ask, I've learned plenty from knowledge stolen by the sages. But no, I don't know how to do what Eb does. Magically or otherwise. Thanks, Landry, for your input. So you won't teach me what you know. I suppose I'm capable of it, but no. The secrets of the Archon of Tides die with me. Occulted Jade, Archon of Tides. I don't remember if we read this. Founder of the School of Tides, as well as only ruler. She wore the title Archon. Occulted Jade never bowed to Kairos, though many have tried to compel her to do so. Arrived the settlers, made landfall to 5 wives. She was up to the oldest known living Tearsman. Capable of manipulating the oceans, the moons, and all the transitory forms of water, Occulted Jade used her magic to form a cabal of seafaring traders, musicians, and academicians. Academics? And it was their dedication to the arts that helped the school endure. For by teaching these trades to the children of noble families, the school remained in the good graces of the realms, being able to control most anything cyclical and fluid. Huh. That's very broad. Occulted Jades lived for centuries and could still be alive today, but none know with certainty. In the year before the conquest, the School of Tides discovered the Overlord's plan to invade. Despite all assumptions the Tears were resident, Archon would defend her school and home. To the surprise of everyone, the Archon vanished across the seas, taking nearly the entire School of Tides with her into exile across uncharted waters. Wow! That's interesting. I'm not going to command you to teach you what I know. I'm trying to be nice about this thing. What are the philosophical teachings of your magic? There's a question I can answer. It would surprise you a little to learn that we see all things, people, wars, seasons, to be cyclical, waxing and waning through their various forms, like the tides in the light of Tyrannus' grave. Oh, Tyrannus is the planet. Tyrannus' grave is a moon? Okay, it's a moon. The mind is limited. We're born and spend our lives dodging death. We expect all stories to have a beginning and an end. We assume all things start and stop, just like us. In truth, all things are cycles. Some by matter of minutes, others by matter of years or lifetimes. In the School of Tides, we appreciate patterns of all sorts. Most are called to the depths, others find their interests skybound. Many still find the tides of human emotion and political fortunes far more intriguing than inanimate tides found in the orbits and oceans. From what archon do the tidecaster draw upon for their magic? Well, we know it's whatever Jade. First tidecasters were given the gift of magic by our school's founder, occulted Jade, Archon of Tides. She was not of Kairos' ilk, she was as powerful as any Archon, and from her name and legacy we can mimic the moon's pull on the seas and change the currents. And it's from her that we have spells to turn the moon's pleasant hues into a baleful ray of searing grave light. Oh, that's why she has because she has like control water and she has like control grave light. Okay, so that's why she has, because it's basically like necromancy magic. It's like weird undead or like negative energy stuff, but that's why it's moon magic. Okay. Tidecasters long studied magic concentrates these rays into bolts and beams of searing doom. Tidecasters spent centuries trying to mimic control the moon's tidal pull in the oceans, often mentioned that diverting moonlight is the easy stuff compared to pulling and pushing the tides. Modern times have forced the School of Tides to concentrate on the more martial applications of the magic. I mean, being able to divert water seems like it has some pretty strong martial applications, but I'm guessing you can tell me more than I ever wanted to know about the moons. You'd be right. My magic is generally associated with the moon Tratus grave, but you have to know where the interloper is in the sky when mucking about with mystic forces. Do you control water, or do you mimic the tidal effects the moons have on water? Both, actually. I'm amused you're keen on the difference. Our spells of ice and mist affect water directly, but are of limited volume. Displacing your own body weight in water is no mean feat. But if I were to move an ocean current, I'd drive myself nuts moving water in front of a boat a little at a time. That's where I'd use a cantrip to simulate a tidal pull. Tratus Grave is the big one, right? Tell me about it. Tratus Grave is fixed in the sky, always overhead, day and night. It was first named by folks living far to the east. They'd look to the west and see the moon like a permanent hill on the horizon, a grave where the sun dies each evening. Sure. That's how the older folks saw it. If you live in the western part of the world, Tratus Grave is overhead all the time. That just means that day and night it's reflecting the sun's rays, and if you know what you're doing, it doesn't just reflect, it magnifies. Interloper is the one that moves in the sky. Exactly. Interloper orbits Tratus at a steady clip, and its orbit sometimes crosses in front of Tratus' grave, leading to mystical calamity if you don't know what you're doing. Have you heard anything from the Tidecasters that left before the war? No, and I don't like entertaining the hope. Those cowards are all gone. If they didn't die at sea, they're dead to me. I reserve the right to be pleasantly surprised if they come back, eager to fight the good fight, but I'm not holding my breath. All the brave Tidecasters died, present company accepted. You mean you? Aside from you.
You know, I normally charge for this, but for you...
Do you know anything about the magic of the Archons? Enough to know I'm out of my element. That is to say, I've studied the many Archons a great deal, and I have a great number of hypotheses and conjectures, but, well, I'm not an expert yet. And like most who have invoked the Archons of times past to work magic, I do wonder what difference of birth or experience gives one the magical potential to be an Archon. Most of my studies have been into the question of the origins of form. It's known we can emulate the magic of the Archons that came before us, but is it possible to tap into the magic of Archons yet to be? So far, the answer seems to be no. He looks at the ground with a rumpled smirk. That's an interesting expression to describe. You know anything about the old walls and spires? Not enough. Never enough. Have smiles twirling her staff in her hands. As a child, I was terrified of the old walls. I think that's true of most folk. Now that I can arc grave light with a wiggle of my fingers, well, I think when I'm a shriveled old hag, dying in the old walls would be a great way to go. I don't know what the old walls are either. What can you tell me about the Bane? What I know is largely taken from Master Cambrel's work, and some near-fatal experience venturing close to the Old Walls. As best I understand it, the Banes are bits of magical will that have an extended life of their own. About the belief that they nest or reproduce in the Old Walls, the only place you regularly find them. Oh, they're like vagrants. Our magic attracts the Bane. That much I know to be true firsthand. Again, this is personal theory, but I'm guessing they eat or drink magic. So our spells are invitations to dine. Well, that's going to be a problem when we go there. Questions about the people of the Tiers.
We all know how to swim, and we all know how to fight. Most Northmen are lucky to make half that boast. What would you like to know?
I'm curious about the people of the Tiers. I think you'll find each of us thinks themselves as a child of Haven, as in my case, or a child of Azure, a child of Apex, what have you. I suppose we Tiersmen have our shared customs. The most treasured of those customs used to be the pride of being free of Kairos' rule. Do you have any particular questions? Give me all the exposition, please. Give me all the lore. When were the Tiers settled? Human settlers arrived over 400 years ago, displaced from a war between what are now Kairos' realms of Trevin and Fertile Sands. A flotilla of barely seaworthy rigs headed west across the high seas. Tiersmen will sometimes speak of the 5 wives. We usually refer both to the first 5 settlements where the colonists made landfall, as well as to the 5 matriarchs that went on to form the ruling dynasties of the Tiers. Of course, I'm leaving out the matter of the builders of the Old Walls. Who knows when they lived here and why they're gone, but those Old Walls didn't just fall out of the sky. Or did they? Why don't men own land or women ships? For centuries, it's been our way that the men own the ships, but the women own the harbors. Customs don't truly prevent ownership, they just limit inheritance. Lands pass to daughters, then sisters, then mothers and aunts. Ships pass to sons, then brothers, then fathers and uncles. It seems strange to outsiders, but it makes sense to me. Men are blessed with wanderlust, women with a sense of the permanent. Likewise, the captain of a ship can't pause to carry a child, and the men grow restless if left in place. Sure they do. Uh-huh. In truth, the custom varies from place to place. You'll find men with enough wealth own land, and women with enough sway own ships. As is often the case, the nobles pick and choose their traditions. Why didn't the younger realms stand united against Kairos? Are you trying to rub it in? Yes, the younger realms were defeated one at a time by the invaders. Maybe if I was queen of the Tiers, that wouldn't have happened. Well then, what would Queen Ev have done? I would have taken the threat seriously. The more troops we stopped marching to the gates of judgment. Am I the only person whose mother mentioned that Kairos was a real threat? Opportunity. That's what killed us. Haven wanted to watch the bastard tier fall first. Apex was hoping Haven would fall. Azure wanted Stalwart to be attacked first. Every realm of the tiers had some interest in watching their neighbors fall first. So we all held back our support till a year or so into the war. Too fucking late by then. Squabbling idiots. Tiersmen live with greater numbers of beastmen. What's that like? Ugh. The beastmen of the tiers are hardier and smarter than their kin elsewhere. Unfortunately, we've lived together in relative harmony for some time. Make no mistake, life is difficult for most beastmen in the tiers, but compared to, say, how they're treated in the Northern Empire, I'd like to think we tiersmen are a bit more modern and forward-thinking, even if just a bit. But I suppose I also take an overly optimistic view of our beastly cousins. I find their clumsy honesty endearing, and while no human will say nice things about my cooking, no beastman has ever said anything mean about my worst dishes. What are the major resistors to Kairos' rule?
Aside from the ones you slew? Well, the Vendrian Guard were the most staunch opponents of Kairos. With their passing, the Overlord's rule is absolute. Well, aside from the local Archons being in a state of civil war.
Well, they were not much of a resistance, so if that's all you got, you're pretty screwed.
Was there a particular group you wish to discuss?
Tell me about the Unbroken.
The Unbroken is the name of the military of the now fallen realm of Stalwart. Every citizen of Stalwart was trained to fight, and all were expected to answer the rallying cry of the Regents, the ruling small council of the realm. A decade ago, Stalwart was the ass end of jokes tiersmen would tell each other. The people of Stalwart are obnoxiously proud of a long history of being invaded, but never losing. The disfavored put an end to their vaunted record of victory. The Unbroken still persist, albeit marginally so. The disfavored withdrew after the Edict of Storms began shredding the landscape. Their holdfast of Sentinel Stand Keep was never taken, and the citizen army, though scattered, could still be rallied.
Okay. So we're getting maybe a path here. Some ideas about where to go. If we wanted to try something.
Kairos' war was disastrous to the human realm of Azure, but a stroke of good luck for the numerous beastmen that toiled in Azure's endless wheat fields. With the masters all dead, the serfs have been set free.
Aren't you just telling us about how the Tiersmen were better to beastmen?
The Stonestalkers are a tribe born from these newly freed beasts. I imagine they would never bow to Kairos or the Archons. Too many generations have been enslaved. I'd wager anything they'll die before they ever bow. Beastmen understand strength and leadership, but it's always in the concrete sense. I can't pretend to know how they think, but I could never imagine them accepting an absent Prima. A distant ruler they can't see or smell seems a bit too abstract.
Tell me about the Bronze Brotherhood.
The Bronze Brotherhood is one of the most feared and famous of the Free City mercenary companies. They serve the highest bidder, and during the war, that was Kairos. Most of the Brotherhood perished in the war, but a handful. The crew hired to work at Lethian's Crossing. They got to babysit the Forge-bound and survived the last few years with minor losses. The band is too small to be a serious threat to the disfavored or the Chorus, but they are Scourge-worshipping berserks that will adopt any enemy for the right price. Maybe even Kairos.
Are there any other remnants of the Younger Realms that could still rise against Kairos?
Several sages came to our aid during the Second Battle of Vendrian's Well. I at first thought they meant to kill me, but instead they put their lives on the line for us.
Well, I assume they're dead.
They spoke of others in their guild braving the Edict of Fire to salvage lore from the burning library. Though I may find them untrustworthy, it must be said that the sages have a certain fearlessness toward the Overlord. Perhaps that could be kindled further.
Kindled. I see what you did there.
Historically speaking, an alliance with the School of Ink and Quill is just asking to have your efforts stolen and your goals undermined. Mark my words, some things never change.
Would you rather they be our enemies?
Well, perhaps we can shove them in front of the enemy. And the ones that volunteered at Vendrian's Well weren't all bad.
What can you tell me about the different nations of the Tiers? Before Kairos came, the Tiers were the Younger Realms, the Bastard Tier, and the Free Cities, in about that order of prominence. They all trace their roots back to the Five Wives, though sometimes a bit of ancestral shoreline seems all we have in common. Tell me about the Younger Realms. Haven, Azure, Apex, and Stalwart have been the four major forces of the Tiers for the last 4 centuries. A few other dynasties have tried their hand, but all eventually were defeated or absorbed into the four we know today. Not sure when the term younger came into fashion, but it's always been a term of humble contrast. Just look at the old walls. Someone was here before us and built them. Don't know really anything about them, but it stands to reason there used to be an older realms that did all the construction. Before Kairos came, oh, darn it. That's really throwing me off. Sometimes it goes back to that. Sometimes that is a new line, and sometimes it's not. Tell me about the Bastard Tier. It's the northernmost of the tiers, the choke point to the Northern Empire. It's been a hub of trade for centuries, and a long line of merchant families and private armies have kept the realm largely lawless. Lawless is an interesting word to use there. Though many of us used to joke about the Bastard City being sacked by rabid dogs, Tunot's capture of the city was a terrible blow to the morale of the Tiersmen. We knew that day Kairos was more than just a fun story to scare your kids. Before Kairos came, god darn it, I did it again. What can you tell me about the Free Cities? There's a little free about the Free Cities, save for their independence from the Younger Realms. They're not physically adjacent, but rather politically allied by their shared hatred of the other realms. Most all of the free cities were defeated with little effort by Kairos' forces. The way I heard it, Narat just had to have agents hire up their mercenaries and order them to simply be elsewhere when the armies of the Overlord arrived.
Ask away.
What can you tell me about the Archons in the tiers?
Not entirely sure. Which is to say, there was a time I studied my enemy in great detail, but I've recently come to learn that much of my information was little more than lies and misdirection.
What of the voices of Narat? The most vile thing to walk Taratus. The voices claimed the masters of the School of Tides. He pulled from their memories, and gave our secrets to the contemptible blood chanters. If I could burn that thing off the face of Taratus, my life will not have been wasted. But in truth, oh god darn it. Oh no, that is a new line. That's weird. But in truth, I'm learning that most of what I know is just lies and misdirection. I guess he'd be a poor Archon of secrets if I had my facts straight. Graven Ash. Before the conquest, I assumed Graven Ash was a harmless old man, an Archon in name only, past his prime. Couldn't have been more wrong. Many have underestimated the great general by his age. Few of them have made the same mistake twice. Ash is a remarkable general. He's led his tiny band of disfavored on a nearly unstoppable rampage of the tiers. He does not seem to win his wars with obvious displays of mystic powers, with old-fashioned leadership and good soldiers, and subtle mystic powers, but very important mystic powers. A year or so back, under a blue flag talk with the commander, I was told the Archon knows the name of every soldier under his command, living and dead. The way his favorites speak of Ash, you'd think he raised each of them from the cradle. Do you know anything about Karen? Enough. She inhales sharply, folding her arms with a scowl. Tidecasters fought well. You can be proud of that. Hardly. Master Folvax and Hagravar should have died on their feet. It would have spared them the indignity of being dragged around like war trophies. Why the hostility? The Archon of Stone destroyed much that I hold dear. I'm glad he's dead. What more I need say? What do you know of Siren? I'm sure there may be younger Archons in the historical records, but Siren is certainly an unusually powerful child. It said half the Scarlet Chorus was recruited by Siren's persuasive song, and I don't doubt it. I also know the voice of Narat put a shackle on her power. Probably feared she'd become the favorite of the rabble.
Ask away.
What do you know of Arcane Society?
I know a great deal of the mages of the tiers, or at least their history. Most are dead now. I know a little less about the guilds sworn to Kairos' Archons, but I try to make an effort to know my opposition.
Well, not your opposition anymore, for right now. Tell me of the Earthshakers. The Earthshakers are the disciplines of Cairn, Archon of Stone, share their master's command of tremors and soil, and they also share Cairn's aloof, brooding temperament. From what I gather, the Earthshakers served as favored, but the relationship has been deeply strained by Cairn's fall from grace. I imagine there's the fear Cairn shared with them, something subversive or treasonous. Tell me about the Blood Chanters. Blood Chanters are the voice of Narat's cabal of mages. Their magic is taken from the sigil of Siren, and from techniques stolen from the School of Wild Wrath, namely their magic of fire, as learned from Thousand Embers, Archon of Fire. Oh, okay. There's another new Archon. They barely qualify as a proper school or guild. Most of them are barely literate, and I bet most of them didn't learn a damn thing, just had their knowledge shoved into their heads by Narat. They've all the brutal buffoonery of the chorus, but with magic to make their bloodlust contagious. Their only redeeming feature, guess they make the sages seem not half bad? Could you tell me of the Forgebound? Forgebound have an unusual sort of magic, specialize in slow, painstaking rituals that do not produce the dazzling blast of energy and shards of flying ice like my own magic. Instead, their spells render them immune to the fires of the forge, and at one with their tools of the trade. I admit a bit of fascination with the guild. I much prefer the power and brutality of my own magic, but if I lived in a calmer, wiser time, I think there could be great satisfaction in using magic to become the master of one's craft. Tell me about the School of Ink and Quill. Behind the Tidecasters, the stage of the School of Ink and Quill is the second oldest arcane institution in the tiers. We go way back a ways, and there's a lot of bad blood. If I'm being objective, sages claim to be scholars interested in collecting, archiving, and preserving lore from and for all humanity. They are quite keen to gather lore, but in no sense do they seek to share their knowledge with the Tearsman. Hello, the Water Rooster. How's it going? Many of our secrets have been pilfered by Sage's spies over the centuries, and we're not alone. Sages have the secrets of many other guilds. Their generations of theft have made them versatile and dangerous. Tell me about your own guild. Our patron, Occult of Jade, Archon of Tides, is as old as the settlers of the Five Wives. And for nearly 5 centuries, where we were masters of the coasts and rivers. These days, it's a school of one. You're looking at it. She thumps her chest with a bemused smirk. Why didn't your Archon fight in the war? About a year or so before the troops arrived in the Bastard Tier, Cult of Jade proclaimed the Age of the Tears is over, so that she'd depart southwest into unknown, unending ocean, rather than face Kairos. Most of my guildmates went along, choosing to risk the endless high seas rather than risk battle. A few of us, the militants, as our peaceful brethren dubbed us, chose to stand and fight. To my knowledge, I'm the last of those who decided to stay. What was your school like before the war? There was a time when the Tidecasters were the most powerful guild of the Tiers. Kingdom of Haven accepted us as defenders of sea trade, and the noble houses gave us peace and quiet in exchange for teaching their sons and daughters music, writing, and navigation. The other schools coveted our knowledge, they feared our wrath. Between our destructive magic and our Archon patron, others knew that attacking us meant suicide. How did the school fall? The Archon Carrot issued a challenge. Masters Folvax, Hagravar, and Camberell leapt at the chance. I told them it was a hopeless clash. I think they were ready to die. The end of the story you should already know. Some fate binders made sure the Tidecasters' elders were taken in chains to the voice of Nerat. Not that I'm still bitter. Ebb eyes you with a scowl. As the youngest Tidecaster still in the tiers, I exercised the better part of valor and went into hiding. But then my sense of shame kicked in, and, well, that's about when I fell in with the Venrian Guard. They're as old as the Five Wives, or that's Jade, the Archon. By all accounts, Occulted Jade was among the initial settlers that made landfall in the tiers before Kairos first cast an edict. She's a bit old and stooped. She looked amazing for nearly 500.
I know a great deal of the mages of the Tiers, or at least their history. Most are dead now. I know a little less about the guilds sworn to Kairos' Archons, but I try to make an effort to know my opposition.
What are the other magical schools and guilds of the tiers? There have been several to crop up wither across centuries. The Cutters Guild took their healing magic north centuries ago. The School of Flowering Winter always limped along as an inconsequential group of gardeners. How rude. Most of the schools of the tiers fizzled out early, slain by suspicious neighbors, or subverted and destroyed by one of the 3 big schools.
Ask away.
What do you think about our travel companions? What do you think about Barrick?
My one concern with Barrick is that he's still loyal to Graven Ash and not to you. Barrick seems steadfast, faithful, and dependable. But if it comes down to you versus Graven Ash, therein lies the test.
If it weren't a tactical asset, it'd be fun to try and pry him out of the suit. Curious to see if his midsection is as strong, firm, and taut as I've imagined it should be. Yep. Okay, Ebb, you have very quickly gotten some fantasies about one of your mortal enemies. Formerly mortal enemies. What are your thoughts on Verse?
We should consider ourselves fortunate that one of the most deadly members of the Scarlet Furies considers you a suitable gang leader. That said, I think her involvement with you is entirely suspect. I would wager good money the voices of Nerat is listening through her, or perhaps seeing what she sees.
Right, I forgot Verse has the whole thing where she has some level of magic that is similar to the voices of Nerat, and she's very uncomfortable with it.
If I were you, I would keep a close eye on Verse. If she wanted to kill you, she could have done it already. But I can't help shake the feeling that she's part of some long ploy with the Archon of Secrets.
Yeah, presumably, yes. What's your take on Lantry?
Probably the only word thief I haven't wanted to dismember. Him? I'd merely flay with an ice knife.
The Wandering Scholar thing seems an act. It's always an act with the sages, always pretending to know less than they really do. I'm sure he's got 1,000 reasons for why he's not like them, or more trustworthy than the rest, but I know his type, and so I don't trust him. Aww, that's high praise coming from you. I'm going to take this staff and repeatedly jam it into your backside until you prolapse. Ah, just like that. Balance is restored to all known existence. You had me worried there.
Ask away. What is it you need?
Alright. We have exhausted all of her fucking shit. What did we get with Ebb? Tyrannus' embrace. Lifted into the sky, Ebb then radiates moonlight, healing allies and harming enemies. Suspended. Cannot move or attack, can only be targeted by ranged attacks. Weird. What? So what did it say? It healing allies and harming enemies. Where is that part? Doesn't give us numbers for that part. Interesting though. I also almost have fear. That would be pretty sweet. I kind of would like to get some more about that. Okay, guys.
Right.
So where does this go? Okay. And can we go? Oh, we can maybe. I wish I could zoom out of this map. So what is this? Power. And Kairos Edict has given you a great deal of power, so undoubtedly prove useful as you travel through the tiers. You should investigate the origins of this power and find ways to... Okay. I thought they meant, like, political power, but apparently they mean, like, magic power. A new bar in your character sheet displays your current level of power. Okay. Well, I can't do that right now, but... Acquired your first Spire. Spire will be your home base. You adventure through the lands of Kairos tiers. Your Spire gives you a free location to rest and recover from trial. As you acquire more Spirit Spires, you will discover additional functionality. Not any spoilers or anything. Dismissed companions. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I want to look at this power thing. What is power? Is this power? This is power. What does that do? We don't know. We have no idea what that does. So are you going to like rise up against Kairos, or... Well, we're going to see what our options are. They've, you know, painted it as fairly impossible to defeat Kairos. There's really not much of a resistance possible currently, but we'll see, you know. We gotta take power for yourself. Leave grave. I meant like murder him and take his throne. It's not clear if anyone has ever like seen Kairos in person. I don't know how that would be done. I remember I wasn't entirely sure that Kairos is actually a real person, or if it's just like a Wizard of Oz thing. I assume he is. I assume people have seen Kairos. It's just in the story, it just seems like he does these super powerful magics from far away. Okay, so what does this do? Oh, Okay, that's that. Okay, so let's go down to, let's go actually walk. Yeah, let's walk through our territory now that we control it. But yeah, it doesn't seem like we're gonna go talk to Tunon. I feel like Tunon's gonna clarify some things. Hopefully, Tunon seems like he's kind of the first among equals among the you know, second in command people, the Archons. He seems like he's the primary one. Oh goody, I have a throne. Oh yeah, what's the there we go. That's what I'm looking for. Well, I guess we haven't I guess we put up flags, but we haven't really done anything else yet. We don't even have any people. Oh yeah, this is the whole thing, right? Like, we seized control of the spire. The spire is now mine. But I have no army. I have no troops. I have 4 people with me. So there's these 3 plus Verse. I have 5 people total. I have not decorated. Alright, that might be an option. Well, I guess it didn't look like it was. What? Oh, right, this is the spire. Cause see, this screen is very similar to the fortress screen in Pillars, but in Pillars it has buildings in addition to recruits, which does change up, like, and some of those buildings are just like you refurnishing things. It doesn't seem to be an option here. Oh yeah, there's also no fast mode in this game. That sucks. I need a fast mode. Is this yeah, that's what I'm assuming. I'm assuming those are supplies. Oh, we just put up flags everywhere. I don't know who put up those flags, but wow, these are all just still, everything's still fucked here. We really need to get this all cleaned up. I need to get a workforce. Okay. Alright, there's nowhere else to go here. We can't revisit any of these locations. So it is now just... Okay, so we can't go to any of these. Okay, so these are the ones that was these circles of places we'll actually go to. Okay. Hey, I don't like that you can't zoom this map out. I don't know why it's limited to this. So we can either go to the Bastard City or we can go to the Sunset Spire. Tunon's Court. Lethian's Crossing. Okay. Do we have a, like, summoning? Yeah, we do. Okay. I guess let's go to talk to Tunon first. Two days, 7 hours. Actually, that's a good question. Which one's closer? Lethian's Crossing is closer. I wish I could tell if this was on the way. Because we're going to go through it. Then I would stop here. It doesn't look like it. I don't know what the road is, though. I don't know what the path out of here is. Path out up here? Path out down here? Very unclear. Very unclear map. So these are the old walls, I guess. So this is the only spire that's not in the old wall. There's one. Obviously there's one, there's one, there's one. Yeah, there's 5 spires. I thought there was 6, but maybe there's just 5. Okay, let's go here. Let's go talk to Tunon, though. Counter Venderance, well, an abrupt storm drives you into the shelter of a public house built under a colossal stone overhang. Travelers from across the tiers share the space with you, warily eyeing one another in mere silence, till the thin stew and thinner ale loosens the lips of the gathered. A wiry woman with midnight skin sets a large gourd on a stone near the back of the cave. She challenges you to a game of daggers, in which players compete to throw identical knives at a target. The person who hits nearest the center in 3 tries wins. The purse, she states, will be 20 copper rings. I do have high subterfuge, but dark-haired traveler looks over your companions and asks derisively which one of your fun you think is game for this challenge. Really? I was thinking Barrick would have the highest athletics. I feel like Lantry's not gonna do well, but also Lantry does kind of throw. He throws like quills as a weapon or something. Gilmer chuckles when you offer up the old man. She doubles over with laughter. When Lantry easily bests her, singing a trio of daggers almost dead center to the gourd. She claps the sage on the back, offers up the winnings, and buys both of you drinks. Okay. Afterwards, she and Lantry disappear for a bit into the recesses of the public house. He's smiling when he returns, cheeks flushed and a sheen of sweat on his brow. Jesus. Fuck. Did not need that. Okay, we did not go through it. It's good to know. Let's hear it for old people fucking. Okay, look at all those bonuses there. Accuracy bonus went above 75% health. That's a pretty big accuracy bonus, I think.
On it.
I guess this is Tunon's court. It's very fancy. Oh, look at all those people. Look at all those people with names. Any petitioners that displeased Tunon would meet their fate in the pits below the court. Oh, great. That's nice. Let's talk to Lady Lucretius. The well-dressed older woman stands apart from the milling crowds of nobles. She stares off in the distance, oblivious to your approach, till you're right in front of her. Oh, greetings, she offers a reserved smile. And Lucretius, formerly of Thistleholm. You have the look of someone who belongs here. A fate binder, no doubt. She nods. Do you need something from me? What are all these nobles doing in Tunon's court? She smirks, shakes her head. Trying to look brave, I warrant. But if you crane an ear to any of their conversations, you'll hear a different tale. 3 years since Tunon set up shop in the Bastard City. We're still getting used to our new masters, figuring out what we can and can't ask of them. The Bastard City, okay. She nods to the assembled nobles. These are smart, ring-plenty folk. The way they approach Tunon, you'd think they were raised under a tyrant's lash. Some have come to settle agreements, others to pledge fealty. I've been standing around long enough to know the adjudicator doesn't care for empty gestures. Well, what brings a noble like yourself to Tunon's court? Frown cracks her pleasant demeanor. Like the rest of the frightened inbreds here, I came to see Tunon and ask him to right a wrong. My manor was destroyed during the conquest. I told the adjudicator my woes, but we didn't exactly see eye to eye. Tell me of yourself. I'm the daughter of a noble house. We were wealthy enough to live in the city, but our means beyond that were limited. My mother dealt in fish, textiles, and bronze. By the time I inherited, the business was taking care of itself. Uh-huh. She sighs. Of course all that has changed. Thistleholm is no more, and my name is none of its former weight. Even if we're still in business, Kairos' laws would stifle our trading rights. Perhaps it's better this way. Kyros's laws of quota and sharing meticulously regulates tradable goods. First issued to serving merchants on an annual basis, but their allowances circulate by design only known to Kyros and Tunon. Former wool peddler may be restricted selling only copper, and subsequent year trade fresh vegetables. Oh no, he's restricting the free market. What is Thistleholm? A great sigh deflates her. It was my family's ancestral hall. The oldest stones dated back to the years when the bastard city was naught but a dozen roofs and wagons clustering for warmth. Compared to the houses of the great lords, it was nothing special. Age itself in the wood, its queer placement in the warehouse district set it apart from the finer grounds where lords and ladies strolled for amusement. It was a mess, but our mess all the same. I would invite you over for tea, something stronger even, but it would only disappoint. Find naught there but a gaping hole. What happened? Collateral damage happened. The adjudicator cast his judgment on the bastard city. He destroyed the districts of the corrupt merchant kings, their manors, their crowning houses, and yes, their warehouses. Aged, dignified Thistleholm collapsed as a massive sinkhole opened under her foundation. Bastard City's laws may not have been perfect by Kyros' standards, but my family followed them with respect and never took a copper ring more than we deserved. Just enough for you to live on without doing any work. Can't help but feel that my estate was not the criminal Tunon had in mind during his sentencing. So what are you going to do next? That's the question, isn't it? I appealed to the adjudicator, thinking he would see reason. After considering my case for all of 8 seconds, he awarded me a belt of rings and a plot of land on the outskirts of the city. Tunon told me to build anew and start farming. Farming! Can you believe that? She shakes her head. It's not even that I'm opposed to the labor, but we're in a war. I can't have the Scarlet Horse breathing down my neck raiding my crops. Kyros knows what else. Well, Scarlet Horse are dogs. I suggest you use those rings to higher protection. Okay, well, the Scarlet Horse already hate me. I don't know how they heard about that. And isn't that the most backward cycle of ring trading I ever heard? To cast a light on something I've been thinking about while I stand here watching Tunon go about his business. I come from a long line of smart, ring-savvy merchants, but even I can't reconcile Tunon's justice with Kyra's law. There's something wrong about it all. Maybe Tunon knows something I don't. Or maybe. She trails off, shaking her head in doubt. What do you mean? People come here for justice. They usually get a version of it, but it's Tunon's version, not theirs. Half the time they don't even get what they wanted out of a ruling in their favor. She shakes her head. The deed to a farm, for instance. Well, I'll take your deed to a farm. Not to put my own ignorance on display, but if more people knew how Kyrus' laws worked, they might not come here seeking a ruling at all, even a fair one. Tunon is a servant of law, but he's the Overlord's vassal as much as any of us. Sometimes it seems like he uses his position to twist everything in the Empire's favor. There's pieces on a board. He can move us wherever the law justifies that we stand. No shit! That doesn't sound, well, legal. I mean, while we're in Tunon's court, I feel like we should not go around impugning the Overlord. Well, Kairos defines law. It isn't for either of us to question. She sighs. Oh, I can't fit Tunon, okay. I suppose not. Bastard City used to have the laws of woman and mankind, but now we have the laws of the Overlord. People will get accustomed to it in time, so will I. Good day, Fatebinder.
On it.
Interesting. Look at all these people. Oh, these are Scarlet Chorus people. Oh, these are disfavored people. Oh, hi, Tunon. There he is. Ornament atop the throne resembles Tunon's mask. It always seems to meet your gaze regardless of where you're standing. Look at all these people. Alright, let's I'm kind of expecting a cutscene when we go up here, but yep.
You call yourselves officers of Kairos' army, but your conduct falls short of my expectations. The court finds your accounts of Vendrian's well lacking, rife with misdirection and fallacy, fouled with baseless accusation.
Shadows beneath Tunon's cloak darken and flare around him. Murmurs of unease erupt in the court. Oh, look at all the... Yeah, he's all smoky. Your Honor, I have relayed the events as I experienced them. You can well imagine why my version conflicts with his. She makes a dismissive gesture to the Scarlet Chorus representative. On my honor, and on that of the great general, I would sooner snap my sword than perjure myself before you, Archon. No, it was a spam bot. So, better or worse, you know. Oh, so you imply that falsehood comes easier to my lips than yours. You're a fool if you believe the Archon of Justice won't see through your lies because the disfavored think themselves better than an honest gang. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone would expect that falsehood comes easier to the lips of the Scarlet Chorus than the disfavored.
Silence. The contradictions in your statements will be examined, and falsities threshed from truths. If we find you have perjured yourselves, Blood and Mark will see to your fate.
The Archon turns and you feel his gaze upon you. Blood and Mark is Kairos' knife in the shadows, the unseen drop of poison that enforces the Overlord's will. He reports to Tune on the Adjudicator, serving in his capacity as the final word to those who hold Kairos' law in contempt. If you know the origin of the Archon of Shadows, or how Kairos maintains a hold on him, those who anchor the Archon never live long past sunset. Blood and Mark, the Archon of Shadows. So many Archons.
Fatebinder, we will start with the matter of the Archons. Graven Ash and the Voices of Nerat have declared war upon each other. In addition to violating Kairos' peace, they have thrown the conquest of the Tears into disarray. By all accounts, these hostilities began shortly after your arrival. Tell us what transpired.
The Archons could not agree on who should lead the siege and descended into accusations of treachery. It seemed a mutual spat. That's true. This is also true, but disfavored were more deserving of the honor. Our tactics and training outmatched the veteran guard at every turn. What balderdash. The disfavored couldn't tip over a straw hut if they had a week to strategize. Our howling mob was better equipped to overwhelm the veteran guard. Our recruits were ready to throw themselves at the enemy if only Ash and his legion would agree to a plan.
The Fatebinder presents testimony. I warn you both against speaking out of turn. Something more than a mere disagreement unraveled this campaign. But I will return to that in time. Let us speak of Ascension Hall. The disfavored sing your praises across the realm, though the Scarlet Chorus appeal for charges of treason. Perhaps you can offer a more enlightened account.
I claim the Citadel with a small unit disfavored. I'm not lying to Tunon right now.
An efficient solution, the type I would expect from a capable agent. Tell me though, with the edict looming overhead and death the price of failure, why not employ the numerical advantage of the Scarlet Chorus?
Hmm. Hmm. I didn't really suspect treachery in that sense. Siege called for tactics and planning, not raw numbers. For a long while, the adjudicator hovers in silence, shadows trailing from below his robes.
I will consider this testimony at length. The court thanks you for it. Is there anything you wish to add at this time?
I haven't told you all that I know. I feel like I probably should tell you the thing about Graven Ash thinks the voice in the rat killed his son and like mind absorbed him, but I don't have that option. I've told you all that I know.
Your testimony is accepted by the court. The statements of our guests raise questions in my mind. There is much about this campaign that has caused me to wonder. A shipment of iron weapons was short on arrival. Where coveted iron is concerned, I don't believe it to be a clerical error. One of my agents recovered this seal in Echo Call. It belongs to a merchant collective. Lethian's Crossing is teeming with their kind. If
Oh,
you would root out treachery,
how
I would
convenient.
advise starting there. Petitioners, leave us. I would have a private audience with the Fatebinder.
Okay,
Descend and join me. You will find the way opened.
okay. By private, do you mean, private? Fatebinder, stranger to Tunan's court. I didn't actually expect to be able to talk to them, but I prefer to spend as little time here as possible. In spite of these closed walls, I feel strangely exposed. He glances up at Tunan. Fair warning. When you backed Ash, you were as good as signing your death warrant. But we shouldn't discuss such matters in a court of law. We'll take our You'll make our time in the tears an interesting one, won't you? He smiles for an uncomfortably long time. Of course you will. You gave me something during the conquest. Tidecaster elders to interrogate. Now I'll give you something in return. He whispers an arcane symbol in your ear, one that you won't soon forget. What did he give me? What did he give me? Oh, Sigil of Emotions. That's cool. That's cool. Where is the way up? Oh, I guess it's over here. Or probably down there as well. Yeah, okay. We also have these Fatebinders to talk to. Anything beats a prolonged siege. Hey, Fatebinder, enjoy the war while you can. I don't know why that got a thing. Fatebinder, Lieutenant gives you a curt nod. I'm ill at ease in this polished hall, but I admit there's a reprieve from the battlefield and training grounds. If Ash needs me to stay here and represent his interests throughout the occupation, then I'll be up to the task. No, she doesn't have anything to say. Alright, what did we get from Sigil of Emotions? Selfless Masters. Okay. Enrage Mind. Allied target gets enraged. Health increased, will reduced, recovery reduced. Okay. Interesting. Ooh, taunting foes. Oh, neat. Lore required 30. Fantastic. Let's, yep. Let's give that to him. Nope. Nope. Yeah, I don't think any of these are. There we go. Alright, let's talk to these Fatebinders here. Fatebinder, you return. Rogalus looks you up and down with an inscrutable expression. You look as if you have some questions for me to untangle. Ask. I'm feeling generous. I'll come back to you. Cade Wolf, I see you've returned to the fold. Your exploits and veterans well are the matter of some discussion. The Fatebinder of Balance regards you with a discerning eye. For a moment, you feel as if she's trying to peer into the very depths of your mind. Do the Fatebinders have special titles too? What am I the Fatebinder of? What can I do for you? Kalia touched the gentle hand to your shoulder. Has anything happened while I was away? Nunaval was dispatched to Stalwart to break the stalemate between locals and the disfavored. He proclaimed Kairos' Edict of Storms, shattering the country with winds unending. How have you occupied your time in the Bastard City? Tunon sends me on assignments here and there. I settle disputes between the locals when the adjudicator is otherwise occupied. She smirks. Everything from trade disagreements to pushing chorus squatters out of basements. Real rewarding work. She waves it off. Glory of war is not an honor reserved for the likes of us. We're the fish swimming in Tunon's wake, picking up scraps along the way. We're rather large and imposing compared to the bottom features of the tiers, but fish all the same. I'd like to know more about Tunon. Tunon is our overlord's fair and exacting adjudicator. He speaks with the voice of Kairos' law, and his word is judgment. All of this and more you can learn by asking him yourself. Go on. Why does he intimidate you still? She chuckles softly. I jest, of course. I have some concerns about the war. You are free to share them in my confidence. She leans in closer. Our armories squabble at each other's throats. Divided, we cannot win. I'm less concerned about the armies than the Archons themselves. There can be no order when mountains collide. Who would you see as champion? Yeah, neither. They're both at fault. But yeah, okay. Mood darkens, and then who would lead our advances? Are we left to deliver a Kairos' peace? Would you wear this responsibility as a crown on your head? You may find it a heavy burden to bear. You misunderstand my intent. Fatebinder studied with a knowing eye. Do I? You seem to know much of my actions. Have you been spying on me? Don't act so surprised. It's my duty to ensure that those who operate under the Adjudicator's name adhere to the spirit of his law, if not the very letter. And those who don't will be dealt with swiftly and efficiently, at the point of blade and marked blade. The Fatebinder slips a slim dagger from the fold of her purple garb, flipping the weapon almost idly in the air. Of course, that's assuming I don't dispatch them first. I take my duty seriously, and I am very, very good at it. Fatebinder Nunaval. Ah, Cade, you return, unscathed and more acclaimed than ever, as seems to be your way. Wow, look at this guy. Fatebinder of War claps you good-naturedly and with excessive strength on the back. Come, you must regale me with all that your journey has held. I could use a moment of respite between friends. He regards you with a warm, boisterous smile. Word has reached me regarding your negotiation tactics at Apex. I must admit I'm impressed you made any headway with the southern wretches. If they're open to reason, it would seem they aren't as ignorant as the Archon of War would have us believe. Come, let us speak freely. This is a lot. This is so much dialogue. I've claimed the Spire at Vendry as well. So the court whispers are true. Fatebinder rubs his fingers along the underside of his chin, pondering his thoughts with great weight. After a moment, he offers you a wistful sort of smile. Someday I would like to witness for myself this tower that has risen above the realms like a blade thrust into the sky. I would hear of your past victories in the war, or recent events. Have you not yet tired of my tales, Cade? I do admit I never tire of telling them. He laughs, hearty and deep. Very well. Let me champion the feats of my conquest. Let the glory of Kairos' reign fall on any ears that would hear of it. You may be interested to know that as of late I've entreated a forge-bound smith to craft me an iron sword, one he claims will not break in battle. However, and rather unfortunately, there appears to be an extended period of delay for the delivery of goods promised, even for a Fatebinder. Could you remind me about the history and origin of the Fatebinders? Well, as you know, Seasoned warrior rubs a finger against the line of stubble along his cheek. We're a relatively young order, though we have spanned the past 2 centuries. Voice of the rat and Graven Ash need armies to execute their will. Tunon wields but a modest court of vassals. We exist as the extension of his law. There's no place in all of Tyranny beyond our... Oh, excuse me. Tell me more about Kyros's armies. Ah, yes, with friends like these, our work is often self-explanatory. Are you asking about the Scarlet Chorus or the Disfavored? Scarlet Chorus soldiers hail from every corner of the realm, blah blah blah. Besides, Scarlet Chorus draws strength in multitudes it swallows. Many of the chorus, okay. Disfavored. This is all stuff we already know. I don't know why we continually have the ability to ask like everyone these basic expositions, and we don't even get like their version of it. That seems like that would, like that we should be getting their perspective on them, not the exact same information we already have. I'm curious about Tunon's masks. They can be rather unsettling, can't they? Even to one such as me. I can assure you, the innocent need not fear their objective, emotionless gaze. What of the Adjudicator's masks specifically would you like to know? Have you ever seen Tunon change his masks? In the way that you or I would change our raiment? No, not as such. And yet I have seen the masks shift. They switch without the Adjudicator or anyone so much as laying a hand on them. It's not something you can watch unfold. After a time, you really realize that it has already happened. So, similar to what the voice of the rat does, but it's more obvious when the voice of the rat does it. There's work enough for the court that we shouldn't occupy ourselves wondering over mysteries. Tell me about the Silent Face. Silent Face is the face that Tunon chose to us now, and for that we are fortunate beyond belief. Silent Face is a patient face, a face for listening, as Tunon presides over all matters brought to the court, taking great pain to ensure that all signs of an issue are heard. A face of resolve? Last known dawning of the face of resolve was the moment he judged and called to ruin upon half the districts in the beleaguered city. Since then he's ruled over Northern Tier justly, calmly, and with efficient diplomacy. What about the face that is no more? Said to have worn a third mask in Aeon's past. Heard rumor that the face displeased Kairos and was thus destroyed. This happens to all persons and objects that displease our overlord. How were you signaled out to become a Fateminder? Can't speak for the other Fatebinders, but I joined the court when I was yet still a boy, and impetuous beyond reason, then imprisoned with a death sentence for the crime of desecrating corpses. Laughs hard and hearty. It was nothing so exciting as you're no doubt imagining. I was merely burning corpses that awaited burial. Before the local authority could send me to the gallows, the Adjudicator claimed me a great talent waiting to be realized, needing only to be steered. Why was it a crime to burn the bodies? There's a time when the Northmen were of superstitious stock, a time before Kairos brought reason to the realms. The people of my city believed that without proper rites, I was cheating our fallen warriors from returning to land. So why were you burning them? Corpses piling in the streets spread plague faster than the filthiest of rats. I was 10, and a weak fighter. I did what I could for my homeland. It's a good thing Tunon spared you. As I've said, the Adjudicator saw within me something of rare value, as is true for us all. You as well were chosen for our great court, for which I am grateful. As the Fatebinder of War, I rely heavily on your talents. What's my title? I want a title! Alright, let's talk to Rogalus. What do you think about the other Fatebinders? They'll need to be more specific than that, I'm afraid. There's, on the last count, slightly more than a handful of us. What is the opinion on the Fatebinder of War? Nunaval's keen, brash, and a hardy bragger with a fondness for bloodshed. He can be utterly unbearable at times, but his justice is fair, even if he's skews toward rather exacting and uncompromising punishments at times. What's your opinion on the Fatebinder of Balance? Callio is the finest among us. Her discernment is beyond reproach, and she is, perhaps, Tunon's favorite. She has a mind for suspicion and observation that makes others uneasy. We who operate within the confines of the law have nothing to fear, of course. Interesting that they're also considered part of the bastard. Oh no, they're considered part of Tunon? Okay. Interesting. So they're like, Tunon is a faction. It's not like, I thought this was the same symbol for the bastard city, but, it's not like how there's the Scarlet Chorus and the Voice and Rat are separate. What's your opinion of me? You follow an orderly path, regimented and organized. Perhaps too orderly for our station, but that's neither here nor there if you execute your job with wisdom. Be sure you don't stray to the path of chaos. Down that way lies rebellion. Oh. From chaos comes to rebellion. From rebellion comes badness. Tell me about some of the past Archons. No one is entirely sure how many Archons Kairos has killed, but I would guess the number is several dozen or more based on various histories I've been able to piece together. Okay. Look! I couldn't. uh, where did you study when you were younger? I've been a ward of the court for as long as I've been aware. As a child, I demonstrated wholly perfect recall, and I observed all that none of my tutors have to offer. I remember hating all the lectures and wishing I could learn at my pace. Funny how I envied the sages of the Tears, how they could spend their whole lives reading and never exhaust their library. Of course, now the Vellum Citadel is nothing more than a burning waste. Well, tell me about the sages. I will not speak of the sages. No better than charlatans and cons, wholly selfish in their ill pursuit to hoard all knowledge from others. They're self-blinded by their own deceptions and clever manipulations. They alone cause their own undoing, and are solely to blame for the burning library, one of the most grievous of wrongs in the known histories, for which they can never be forgiven. Wow, somebody's projecting. Can you tell me about the old walls and the Bane? Which one should I start? The old walls. We know little enough about the ancient structures, save that they predate all historical record. Forbidding ruins crisscross the tiers in the north, alike centuries before we raised our cities. The only one old enough to guess is likely Kairos. Tell me about the Bane. The Bane are found in the old walls, but much of their defining qualities still escape me. They're creatures of smoke, claw, and fang. If you find yourself unfortunate enough to fight one, remember that spells are effective against them, but grab the attention of others lurking near. Talk about the tiers. Eventually, the tiers essentially split between the Bastard tier and the Younger Realms of the Three Cities. Bastard tier. Da da da. Three free cities remaining. Last Harbor, Spiral's Maw, and Barris and Chains. Okay. Let's go. Let's go. So again, I don't know if we meant, really alone or like just not everybody else gone, but the party's fine.
This civil war, this feud, is an insult to Kairos' peace. It should not have taken the better part of a year to silence the last vestiges of the Oathbreakers.
I will say nothing.
Our allies squabble while our
Oh,
enemies
what?
regroup. It falls upon the court to measure the extent of the damage, and to execute the agents of disorder. I suspect that treachery, negligence, disunity, and greed have infected one or both of our esteemed allies. Until you are instructed otherwise, this matter is the court's primary focus. Graven Ash and the voices of Nerat must be examined in close detail. You are charged with observing the Archons and presenting your case that one of them has wrought chaos and disorder upon the tiers.
Could they both be guilty?
It's possible, but the momentum of the conquest up to this point suggests otherwise. The failure at Vendrian's Well implies a coordinated will behind the chaos. As always, you will be held accountable for what you do in the court's name. But you are free to conduct your investigation in the manner of your choosing. You must expect lies, misdirection, and manipulation. Suffer not such obstructions of justice. The disfavored seem the logical first step in your inquiry. The Legion holds you in some esteem. Engraven Ash has shown deference to the court in times past. No doubt the disfavored will be rife with accusations and evidence against the voices of Nerat. Graven Ash is a noble man, but never underestimate his capacity for deception. A wise general succeeds by knowing when to be unreadable to the enemy. You should, of course, speak with the Scarlet Chorus and gather their testimony, but it stands to reason that most in the chorus would sooner brag about a pauldron fashioned from your skull than entertain your questions. Do not regret killing the rabble that impede your investigation. They will be easily replaced.
If Craven Ash were guilty, I'd imagine all his soldiers would lie for him.
I concur. Graven Ash has a reputation for honor and nobility, but nobody is above reproach. If he is guilty of treachery in some fashion, his loyal soldiers will not be the ones to betray him. But if anyone is conducting a symphony of lies, common sense would point to the voices of Nerat.
I like that. I'm pretty sure that this is just frozen. Yeah, because he's up here in the moment of me running, of these characters moving. But it kind of looks like I'm like kneeling, like I've taken a knee with the one leg back.
Your fellow Fatebinders have been busy acting as my eyes and ears. I have a few leads for you to follow. You should, of course, speak with your brothers and sisters of the court if you need further counsel. The disfavored have made use of the Sage's network of dovecotes and messenger birds as they come under capture. I've heard multiple claims of strategic communications gone missing. The Sages are broken, their citadel in flames, but they were not slaughtered to the last. Some of their numbers still congregate around the smoking husk of their burning library. If they have been reading disfavored communications, learn what they learned, then execute them. There is a final matter to discuss. A sensitive topic.
Though it's impossible to gauge from his expression, Tunon seems more wary than usual. What concerns the court, Your Honor?
In spite of the many shortcomings at Vendrian's Well, you managed to make a name for yourself. You proclaimed an Edict of Kairos, resolved its demanding conditions, and ascended the mountain spire.
Yeah?
Any one of these feats would be worthy of recognition by the highest authority. You managed to accomplish 3.
Tunon hovers in observance, awaiting a response. I was only doing my job. Yeah.
Your sense of obligation to your role is admirable, but modesty will not recommend you to the task ahead. Whether by design or by accident, you have captured the attention of Kairos' army and the local tiersmen alike. This is no small opportunity, and the court charges you with exploiting your new standing to its fullest potential. You have a title in our hierarchy. However, it's a little-known secret that one's standing in the world is determined by their infamy, their deeds, and how they come to be known. Mind this notion as you bring justice to this lawless frontier. There may come a time when your deeds speak for you louder than any title.
Use the influence system.
If your killing spree in the bastard city is any indication, you are no stranger to spreading infamy already.
What killing spree? I don't remember killing a bunch of people in the bastard city.
Whatever you did to capture the attention of the masses at Vendrian's Well, I would encourage you to do so again.
Understood. I will be known as the champion of justice.
Good. It falls to us to set a new standard for these southern barbarians. You are dismissed.
Whoa.
Should the court have need of your presence, you will receive word. Go forth and do my bidding, and bring glory and honor to the tears in Kairos' name.
Tunon raps his gavel against the floor, the singular note resounding throughout the hall. Oh, And he's gone.
I got it.
Okay. Just a little disappearing act. Oops. Not even a disappearing act. He just teleported like 10 feet. Did he? What? Oh, he's down here. He's back here. Oh, he did. Interesting. He doesn't have any time to walk. Okay. The War of the Archons has begun. Oh, right. Can I keep talking to Tugon? Can I bring that up? Let's go see if I can. Can I talk to him from here? You return. It is gratifying to see that the war has not caused you to forget your roots. What is it you wish to know? Let's speak about matters of law. That you are well situated, for my court is the legal heart of this corrupt and uncivilized realm. What matters draw your curiosity? Oh God, so much! Why is there so much? God. You are already well versed in Kairos' laws, but I'm happy to discuss the particulars. Oh boy. Remind me how the Overlord's name should be used. It is not forbidden to cross one's tongue with Kairos' name, but it behooves one to use caution and respect. The Overlord's name is not yours to give, whether to progeny, product, location, or abstraction. It's copyrighted. Got it. Slander of the Overlord is punishable by death. There's only one Kairos. And her name? Her name? Is safeguarded. No one may say Kairos and have it obfuscated by a second meeting. Huh. Well, my apologies. Yeah, I guess they've never used a pronoun for Kairos. No one may say Kairos and have it obfuscated by a second meaning. Neither will a name be associated with trivialities. A gambler will not attribute his fortune to Kairos' luck, or his misfortune to Kairos' scorn. Yeah, it's yeah, huh. Such an association lowers the Overlord in the public estimate and is rightly considered slander most foul. What about Kairos' peace? Cornerstone of our wartime efforts, of course. Kairos' peace guarantees all willing supplicants with authority placed in our world. The exact wording of the bylaw is your life is not yours to discard. The Overlord has plans for you. Okay. Said several spheres of influence grants protection to enemies certain in times of war and forbids suicide. Dispense with the Overlord's vassal and property is prohibited. Great. That's fair. Remind me of the Magician's Folly. The arcane arts must be sanctioned by one of Kairos' guilds. Blood Chanted or Forgebound. Rogue magicians with a tenuous grasp of unknown powers will not be tolerated. So what do all my are they like sanctioned by me? Are all my magicians? Do they get like they're under my sanction? I kind of get to extend it. Ebb lowers her gaze to the ground, thumbing the chords of her bandolier in a thinly veiled attempt to appear uninvolved in the discussion. Yeah, that was my question. Your orphan mage there is covered by the aegis of the Blood Chanters Guild. When you consign the elders of the school to their fate, all of her tradition are now, in the eyes of the law, Blood Chanters. Oh, okay, but what about Lantry? Diplomatic immunity, and all costs was my dignity. So I'm a Blood Chanter in the eyes of the law. Just salt the wounds, why don't you? Sanctioned mage whose spellcasting causes damage to life or property is lawfully deemed innocent. As long as they are practicing their art in the service of Kairos, all is forgiven. Okay, so if you're a superhero and you blow up a city, or a city block, it's cool. As long as you were doing it in the service of Kairos. Let's speak of quotas and sharing. Yeah, let's hear about this. This could be bad. Harvest blooms and blights by the will of Kairos. In times of lean, you'll be fed. In times of wealth, you'll feed others. As law is a sizable category unto itself, serving many needs at once. Trade and tax being only two examples. The broadest intent of the law is to empower Kairos subjects to care for their neighbor and expect care in return. What? I don't even know what prompted that, Mary. What stopped them? It's cool. No, it's don't apologize. Oh, the superheroes thing. Made me think of that for some reason. Okay. Old memes running the world. As long as this, the process 10. Yep. Okay. You might take note of the law's application to trade. A merchant's right to peddle their wares is defined by permits granted annually. The regional authority has the right to decide if a merchant sells cabbage one year and sandals the next, and breaking the restrictions is subject to immediate forfeiture of all assets. Do not consider yourself over the nuances, at least until they apply to this contested realm in a time of peace. That meme has legitimately ruined the word desperate. Desperate in my house. Oh, thank you for being old with me. Yeah, now your turn. Desperate. Oh yes, most certainly. Oh yes. I'm curious about the restriction on forbidden knowledge. Kairos herself sets the standards. What can and cannot be known. These restrictions are rarely inversed, but are they worth taking into account? So I guess with this, the pronoun is like, because as it's said, like most people have never seen the Overlord. The Archon's the only people who have, theoretically. And I don't. I mean, I assume that Graven Ash and the Voice of Narat have, but they didn't really talk about Kairos. And yeah, this is kind of emphasizing that Tunon is kind of the number two, it seems like. Tunon knows. Restrictions are rarely enforced, but they are worth taking into account. During the war, for example, Kairos deemed the knowledge of the Vellum Citadel taboo. No one may possess the wisdom of the fallen repository save Kairos herself. Tunon, yes. Calling it all taboo seems a bit overkill, but to play Kairos' advocate, I'm pretty sure he just said you shouldn't say things like that, Lantry. Do not say Kairos' advocate. The world would hardly be safer if it all had access to the lore of making poisons or the art of arming brigands in fine bronze. This is for the protection of our subjects. Before the coming of Kairos to engage in anarchy and discord, powerful knowledge and undeserving hands leveled empires without thought or mercy. Kairos had no desire to visit those dark times. Yeah, it's terrible when empires fall. Let us discuss the old walls. The old walls are forbidden, as are their contents and their denizens. Owning any item from the old walls is considered a trespass, regardless of how it came into your possession. Mind that in the course of your travels. So, the spires which are all in the old walls, aside from the one that I have. As the old walls extend across much of the tiers of the Northern Empire alike, Kairos permits her servants to pass only where she has sculpted the landscape to permit traverse. Under no circumstances are you to enter a breach in the old walls, even for a task as innocent as crossing to the other side. Interesting. So this is where we're going to find out the good shit. These restrictions seem too severe. I would remind you that they are for the protection of Kairos' subjects. The overlords no desire to see harm needlessly inflicted upon our loyal followers. Am I beholden to these laws? Obviously. That should not be in question. We are all subjects of Kairos. Laws define and regulate our very way of life. With that said, as an agent of law, you are granted more leeway than a soldier or citizen. You may find yourself compelled to commit morally questionable acts in the name of Kairos. If it serves the court justice, much may be forgiven. So the rules don't apply to you as long as you're enforcing them with someone else? Well, your job. I mean, you're kind of, you're my employee now, so if the court finds any of your actions suspect, it will summon you to answer for yourself. Your testimony will be heard and judgment rendered. You're exceedingly curious about the application of Tyrus' law. I find it refreshing that you would seek my counsel, Fate Finder. You gain favor for asking for all the exposition. I'm curious about you, Archon. Curiosity is not a trait I encourage my servants. Too often avoid in such activity, leading down a path of lawlessness. Feel a better understanding me will inform your work than I will allow it. Why is curiosity such a problem? Because my vassals are not selected for their independence of thought. You're an agent of law, the execution of which falls within strict confines. Your intellect may aid the tasks ahead of you, but your unwavering obedience is of greater value to me. Don't you want me to interpret Kairos' laws to fit any circumstance? I feel like he's gonna get mad at me for smart talking. Naturally, but take care not to let your intellect veer you from the straightforward path. I have seen it happen and lost more than one pupil who thought themselves above their station, convinced they knew better. I feel like we should not ask all of these. Because if we ask all of them, I'm guessing he's going to get mad that we're too curious, just like he liked that we're inquisitive about the law. Tell me about your rise to become adjudicator. I mean, what happened to those pupils? Well, that was a new question. I'm pretty sure they're dead. Curb your ambition, student. My path to this dais is not one that could be replicated under any circumstance. However, if your curiosity is determined, I will tell you my story. I wish to understand law and your execution of it. An admirable pursuit. You know much of Kairos' law and the maintenance of order already. My history may tell you something of how it can be used to win wars. I came into the world centuries ago, before the dream of a unified Northern Empire was fully realized. My home country lay far from the borders of Kairos as well, and our conquest was a matter of distant speculation. Decades before rumor of Kairos' approach grew in panicked volume, I familiarized myself with the intricacies of her law. It took me no time at all to realize the benefits were inevitable subjugation. Oh, sure it did. I took it upon myself to rise in my country's governance as arbiter of law and drafter of covenants, building some notoriety for my execution of fair justice. As my influence and the trust of my people evolved, my decisions transcended to define future precedent. Go on. What my countrymen could not have surmised was that I have woven into our customs the very backbone of Kairos' law. I set the stage for the conquest of our founding nation to join the Overlord's empire. By the time the Overlord's armies presented themselves and offered terms of surrender, we had adopted Kairos' peace in all but name. Our absorption of the Northern Empire was a matter of legal formality, negligible changes to our already beloved document of law. People credited me as the architect of peace, for a time called me Tunon the Fair. As my importance grew in their estimate, Kairos could not help but learn of the part I played in her bloodless victory. Kairos' law has a breadth of intricacies that are unapproachable to the masses. I was chosen to interpret and represent the Overlord's will across the Northern Empire and beyond, this time as adjudicator. It is my pride, my duty, my life. Okay. Tell me about Kairos. Kairos is our overlord. She ushers us from the brink of chaos with a stern hand and gestures to the way of peace. We are only too eager to follow in her perfect example. Ah, I couldn't help but notice that you refer to Kairos as a woman. Beware that trajectory of thought. Save for her perfection, there's little about Kairos to which we could ascribe recognizable attributes. Power is distant and is unknowable so the Overlord should transcend our petty dualities. Male, female, it makes no difference. Kairos is mother to us all. How old is Kairos? By our reckoning, her age upon Tyrannis is magnificent. Her true span defies measurement. By our limited construct of time, it would be a waste to spend our few pitiable years attempting to solve the riddle of existence. Think of Kairos not as subject to beginnings or endings. Kairos is. Kairos will ever be. Okay. Tell me about Blood Mark. He is my headsman, and an assassin without equal. His official designation in Kairos' hierarchy is the Archon of Shadows, though I wonder that he ever considers himself aught but a slayer of the unjust. How does he earn his title? His work away from the court takes Mark to the dark place of the world. The Tears, Northern Empire alike. Time shadows became his dominion. They cloak him, protect him, and even fight for him if the need arises. Oh, he's got shadow magic! Said the Mark travel to any place where shadows are cast. Ooh, Shadow Leap. Only he would know this for certain. Does Mark serve you alone? The question is flawed. We're all servants of Kairos. The Archons are also agents of their own interests, those chosen few empowered to bring order to the world in accordance with Kairos' peace. At present, Mark is my vassal and I his patron. Relationship is not so different from Graven Ash and Cairn, the fallen Archon, or the voice of Narat and his songbird, Siren. Such partnerings and apprenticeships are common. They provide mutual benefit to the Archons involved, as well as a measure of oversight. I have a request from Barrack, Stone Shields. And what does Barrack of the Stone Shields want of the court? He has made his displeasure known in a loud enough voice to collapse the tears upon each other. The adjudicator glares down at Barrack. He came to inquire if the Forgebound could help him remove his armor. If he has become encased in iron, that is none of the court's concern. My Forgebound smiths are occupied crafting weapons for the army, and I would not have their focus diverted to liberate one soldier from his raiment. Stone Shield, do the disfavor not have standards for the upkeep of arms and armor? Is this not one of your Archon's guiding principles? It is, Your Honor, but I found my stuff trapped in this junk pile after the Edict of Storms hit Stalwart. If you want to blame anyone, it should be Kairos. Barrack, that seems like a bad thing to say. The adjudicator contemplates the matter in total silence. The moment drags on far longer than he suspected it warrants, but Tunan's interest does not abate for a moment. The soldier remained encased in his armor, eccentric though it may be, and all subjects of Kairos are forbidden to aid in its removal. Magic the likes of which none of us understand has touched the stone shield, and we will not interfere with the will of Kairos. But, I'm trapped. Barrack trails off, looking to you for answers. No, we can't do anything about that. Such is the will of Kairos, and the will of the court. Tunan nods and bangs his gavel. You tried. I suppose that counts for something. Adjudicator didn't say anything about me bending my way out of here, at least. Not that trying has ever made it better. Well, all subjects of Kairos are forbidden to aid in its removal. Technically, you are a subject of Kairos, so I think you are technically forbidden to try to get out. But, alright, let's talk to Barrack. Only the slightest nod of Barrack's domed helm offers any indication that the soldier noticed you approached. You okay in there, Barrack? The Archon's decision changes nothing. I persevered to this point. I shall continue to do so, for the sake of General Ash and the North. Well, there may be another way. Your master was very specific in his sentence. He forbade not only assistance from the Forgebound, but from anyone, anywhere in the world. Well, no, the Archon forbade any subject of Kairos to aid you. You split hairs, Binder. The whole world bends the knee to the Overlord. If that were the case, we wouldn't be in the tears, would we? You're not suggesting we ask some renegade maid for aid. You would discard the spirit of the law in favor of its letter. Well, perhaps some other way to free you will present itself. Your optimism does your credit, Fatebinder, though I fear it misapplied. Fortune will be curious about you regardless. The articulation on your armor is incredible. At the very least, we should let them take a look at you. My armor is unique. Perhaps it can teach them something that will aid the disfavored. We can find the forgebound at their smithy in Lethian's Crossing. Oh, convenient. Let us leave, Faithbinder. I worry that my presence offend these nobles' precious sensibilities. Bows his head to you and moves away, trailing behind him the wafting reek of a fetid privy. Yeah, I don't think it's the sight that offends them. Oh, who we got? Who's coming? Who's that? Oh, hello there. Blooded Mark. Welcome back, kid. Amusing as it would have been to watch the edict dropped, I guess I'm glad you lived. Blooded Mark, Archon of Shadows, rouses from a faraway stare, turning to face you with a wry smile. Though he stands still, he seems to sift in and out of the shadows that shroud him. Here you threw your rings on Graven Ash's side. Not a bad bet to pick the Archon of War. But tell me the truth. Did you go to Ash because it seemed like the right thing to do? Or because supporting the voices was a worse option? What's it to you, Archon of the Elderly? Well, what sane creature would trust the voice of the Narat? Don't mistake him. The Archon of Secrets thrives on mistrust. When everyone believes you're lying, speaking the truth is a fine blade with which to cut your enemy. All that matters is the Edict of Execution was stayed. Those stationed at Veteran's Well should be thanking you for their lives. Now, I assume you're off to go meet with Mash, but first, you and I need to have a little chat. I'm listening. Everyone's keeping an eye on you, because you did something that nobody has done before. Got a guess as to what that might be? I'm the first person to take an evasive stance against your rhetorical questions. Second, actually, but not that. The Archon raises an eyebrow and his eyes glimmer with the briefest hint of amusement. Proclaiming an edict isn't new, neither surviving or resolving the commandments of an edict. But you're the first to proclaim and resolve the very same edict, and it didn't kill you. In one fell swoop, you survived your second edict, resolved the very one you had proclaimed, and woke an arcane structure that had slept for several centuries. This is like the, hey, you're a big deal. We gotta have multiple people tell me what a big deal I am. This game's interesting, but some of the writing in it is definitely clumsy. And now I go on your short list of people who stand out as potential problems. More or less. Mostly more. He offers you a dangerous grin. I don't care what you do with the information, but you should know the danger you're in now that you've put yourself on the map. Sticking with the disfavored is a smart idea, kid. At least smarter than getting mixed up with the Archon of Secrets. You'll never really be one of them, but if you value Ash's warriors, they'll serve you the best they can. Thanks for the advice. The Archon of Shadows shrugs you in farewell, but his golden eyes are alight with interest as he watches you. I thought he was going to disappear again. Is there a reason you're gaping at me like I just gutted you, kid? Or do you like to just stand around and stare? That bracer you're wearing is rather eye-catching. What bracer? That one. I bet you're thinking something like, it'd look even better on you, right, kid? This, he waves his left arm in the air, examining the blacker than black bracer. Strapping armlet that appears simultaneously solid as obsidian and diaphanous as a sigh, almost a living, pulsing thing. This is very, that's something. The way that that's being described. That'd be my Binding of Shadows. Want it? Well, damn straight I do. With a gruff grunt and some difficulty, he ratchets the braces off. So it is solid after all, and tosses it to you one-handed. Careful with it. once you accept the gift. Not only weapons could be double-edged swords. Okay. Right click. Okay. It's heavy armor. Shade skin. Minus 10% all damage taken. It's an artifact. Deal bonus arcane damage. Gain bonus damage reduction. So artifacts get renown. They have their own scaling somehow. I don't know how they get renown. Bracer, once worn by Blood and Mark, is made of unfamiliar substance, part velvet, soft darkness, and part hardened insect chitin. Said the darkness is more impressive when Archon of Shadows walks the face of Tyranus. The magic stemming from his power draws on the substance and shadows of the air. Okay. I don't know that I actually want to use it. I can't equip you. And everybody else really wants the recovery. It's not that much recovery on me, I guess, but it's probably best on me, but it's still not necessarily good. But it scales somehow, right? I just don't know how it scales. What is this? Oh, that was just... okay, that's why. Interesting. I don't know what to do with that necessarily. So between armor and deflection. Armor reduces damage, deflection... and we also get this, so it is good. What's deflection? Oh, okay. I see. And precision is critical hits, right? Yeah. Alright, I guess I'll wear it.
I'll just hold on to this.
Oh, okay. I feel like, this is gonna have consequences, but sure. Voices in a rat. Consumed graven ashes of imprisoned sun. It's got a course desired the knowledge of captured sages. Artifact. Powerful magic items that when wielded grant their owners a new ability. Artifacts are known throughout the tiers. The artifact's reputation grows. But how does its reputation grow?
I got it.
Alright, let's leave and go to here. Lethian's Crossing. Rich in iron ore. Locals lack the technology to smelt and forge the element. Population lives of refugees. Forge bound mining the iron along with their guards. We expect settlement of vital resource to Garrus's armies. Taken over by a band of mercenaries known as the Bronze Brotherhood. Okay, a group of mercenaries, members of the Bronze Brotherhood, are blocking the road. Do they want to be paid?
Will do.
This looks familiar. This looks like the map where we met Ebb originally.
Can't do that.
She was up on that hill. Who's this? Who's these people? Oh. Oh. Those look like dead, disfavored. Striking man with a shock of bright blonde hair stands here, observing some men searching bodies of slain disfavored soldiers. He watches you approach, his angular features pulling into a look of disdain. And here's the fate binder. Doesn't mask the displeasure in his voice. I knew we'd see you. I was just wondering when. What brings you out here, where no one asks you to come? Are Kairos' dogs ready to be put down again? You won't surrender the crossing, no matter how many times you try to take it. We were hired to protect this city, and we will continue to do so. No one else will have it. He glanced at his men, who had stopped to watch the conversation. With a start, they returned to searching the bodies. Never mind, waves the hand dismissively. I don't care why you're here. My name is Rademan. I'm the leader of the Bronze Brotherhood. You are awfully casual about this. We could just kill you right now. Watch yourself while you're a guest in my land. If you've come to stir up more trouble, we are well equipped and will not back down in the defense of what is rightfully ours. Sweeps his arm in front of him, gesturing the surrounding countryside. Welby and I might not always agree, but that is one point we see eye to eye on. If you step out of line, we'll both correct you. Aren't you mercenaries? His eyes narrow when he leans towards you. You are not welcome here. Tell me what you want or leave. Okay, we could just attack him. Just immediately. Tell me about the Bronze Brotherhood. We're a humble group with noble, long-held traditions on the side of right and honor, of killing people for money. Rademan's voice filled with pride. If there's an injustice that needs to be rectified, we are called. But you're hired mercenaries. Rademan's face takes on a sour expression. If you want to be crass, then yes. People pay us for our services, but it's hardly the reason we do what we do. Relax. There's no shame in doing what you do well for a decent wage. But claiming you're doing the work of the righteous when you're just selling your brawn makes you sound like a brigand or a conqueror. Those are quite arrogant words from a man who belongs to a group that takes knowledge and hides it from the world. Your opinion in this matter means nothing to me. Why is Lethian's Crossing so important to the Bronze Brotherhood? We were asked to do a job and we did it. Then what happens? Kairos attempts to eject us from our home, makes an emphatic gesture to the north towards Lethian's Crossing. By all rights, that city is ours. Suddenly Kairos wants it? Well, I intend to keep it. I refuse to leave. We've protected the crossing for years and even ensured Kairos' forces could do business here when Nerat asked to. No, we did the job we were asked, and this land belongs to us. You said you don't do it for the money, but that's why you're fighting over Lethian's Crossing? I don't appreciate your tone and the implication of what you're saying, Fatebinder. Rademan's eyes are hard and his voice is flat. This is a mere matter of principle. We performed a service, and we were paid for that service. Don't try glibly to explain away a complex situation. This is our home. This is my home. I will have it, no one else. Now, if you all came here to do is insult me and mine, I would suggest you leave. What are you so important about these bodies? They were deadly scouts by Kairos to ascertain our defenses. Where one group is formed, many others are sure to follow. And for anything, it will tell us how many there are, and where they will strike next. They've tried to take Lethian's Crossing back already and failed. If the forces are too numerous this time, we might not be able to hold it again. Why are you telling me? The agent of Kairos. I need to get to Lethian's Crossing. Radeon looks at you with an incredulous expression. Absolutely not. You must be crazy if you think I'm letting this favorite sympathizer through to my city. Who knows what plans you would make to undermine my authority. Crosses his fur arms over his chest. You have some nerve, Fatebinder. Now let's talk about something else. Tell me about Welby. Shoots a look to the north. I had such high hopes from her as my first axe. Continued success of the Brotherhood should be the single most important goal for anyone who's a member. She seems to have forgotten her place. She's not the head of this band. I am. If she doesn't stop overreaching, I'll have to replace her with someone who knows how to obey. small figure stands before some armor-clad soldiers. His arms move wildly as he gestures in frustration, yelling at the man directly in front of them. Absolutely not! I've come through Iron Hall Trail more times than I can remember. No one ever asked for a toll before, and I won't be paying one now. He notices you standing nearby and turns to speak. Fatebinder, surely you of all people can help me. My name is Aster, and I must get to Lethian's Crossing. I have goods to deliver. Tell this man I will not be paying a toll to him or anyone and he is to let me through. He folds his arms over his chest and nods with pronounced finality. What are you guys doing, kitties? Can't see them too well. Let me turn this. Greetings, Fatebinder. I'm sorry you've been drawn into this. What you stumbled into here is merely a conflict of the changing times. I'm Will, of the Bronze Brotherhood. Iron Hall Trail is under our protection, and anyone passing through must obey our rules. If this gentleman would like passage to our land, a simple donation is required. He holds out his hand. These funds help our cause and keep Iron Hall a safe place for all travelers. Clearly, you both can see the value in that. Aster speaks, his arms swinging about again, emphasizing his words. And who exactly is keeping it safe? You standing there with your weapon at the ready against me? His arms drop, and he turns to you again. I'm not but a traveling merchant. I have no money to spare, and I certainly pose no threat to anyone. Keep this area safe indeed, he points at Will. You're the only threat here. Fatebinder, please, talk some sense to the man. So we need to start considering what our plan is long term. So Ebb identified the Bronze Brotherhood as one of the groups we could, well, not we, she wasn't speaking that way, but one of the groups that could still represent resistance. So, even if they seem shitty, because they're a bunch of hired killers, should we take their side? Start building up some goodwill. Who does Aster represent? Lethian's Crossing. Interesting. I'm kind of tempted to just pay it for him. That seems like the... I don't know how many rings I have. I want to see how many I have. Is that significant to me? I'll pay it, I guess. Thank you, Fatebinder. You've done a great deal of good today. Aster bows dramatically, turns back to the soldier, and you brute. Move aside and let me pass. Will makes an exaggerated flourish and moves out of Aster's way. But of course, he raises an enormous hammer and stops Aster, pressing against his chest. Though, merchant, do be sure to have some rings of your own for your trip back. Doubt your friend here will be around to pay your way through these lands twice. He smiles, moves his hammer, and gestures to Aster to continue. Will returns to his position and looks you over, his former genial mood gone. So, a Fatebinder in our little corner of the world. Who ever thought that would happen? He spits between his feet and then crushes it into the dirt with his boot. While I appreciate your help doing with the merchant, I'm afraid I can't let you pass till you've spoken with our leader, Rademan. Personally, I thought he was crazy for saying you'd be visiting Lethian's Crossing. Looks like I am a few rings. Shakes the pouch around his neck, making the rings inside jiggle melodically. Not that there's a shortage of those out here! What can this humble servant of the Brotherhood do for your Fatebinder? And don't ask me to let you through, because that isn't happening. Ridiculous piece of mercenary offal requires a lesson in pain and obedience. Allow me to teach him. Thanks, Barrick. I appreciate it, but I think we need to be diplomatic. If you don't feel like paying the toll, I can put you back the way you came. If you need an idea of where to go, because I can't let you through. how many bronze rings to a copper ring? I'm assuming when he says rings, he's talking about copper rings, obviously. Is it 100? It's probably in the glossary somewhere. Oh, you equipped a powerful artifact. Interesting. Well, Tunon's very pleased with me. Interesting. So there's also like the accumulation of these cannot go above a certain point. You have to get a singular thing big enough. I didn't know that. Yeah, they're mad. They're mad, alright. Bledin Mark, Archon of Shadows. His symbol is just nothing. It's just black. Pressed by our cunning ways. The Scarlet Course don't actually hate me very much, so, you know, there's that. Okay, what was I gonna look up? I was gonna go look up, where's the glossary? Is it like a, oh, it's right, it's a secondary thing on here. Encyclopedia. Quality alone time. Okay. I want money. Rings? Rings. One iron ring is equal to the... Okay, one bronze ring is equal to 100. Okay, 100. So... It's significant, but it's not really I will pay the toll. Reach for the rings, stop short and taking out... No. You'd be able to see Rademan. Catch the bad side of Beastman's claws, but let a fate finder through without an audience. I mean, I did speak with him. He just told me I wasn't going through. Why are you charging travelers a toll to get through Ironhall Trail? Not see other affairs of the Brotherhood or your business, Fatebinder. Suffice to say, the funds we received from our tolls help us keep the lands around Lithian's Crossing safe. We owed our dues, and we shall have them. Okay. I don't know what to do here, other than kill him. That's interesting that when you go back through that, you only have the option to say what you said the first time.
Yes.
Try not to offend him. Oh, can we go up here? Oh, we can walk up here. Okay, there we go. I thought I tried to click on this before and it didn't let me. Ooh. Yes, please. Sigil of cyclical energies. What is that? Oh, here it is. Okay, whatever. Yeah. Oh, reduces cooldown. Oh, that's good. Okay. Mm. Yes, please. I will do all this. Whoops. Oh, you cannot view or modify electrical to learn sigil of lightning. What's this one? Sigil of force. Oh, no. Because this is plus 10. Okay. Whoop. View or modify Phantom Bolt until you learn Sigil of Tyranny. Hmm. Yeah, we already got most of, oh, well, we can update this. Probably more of that than... Don't really... That's, yeah, huge. Okay. Great. Let's talk to Welby. A tall woman stands here, surveying the area from a small overlook. She glances at you and immediately goes back to watching her surroundings. Welcome to Ironhall Trail, Fate Minder of Tunon. With all the running around, I wasn't sure you were ever going to make it over here. Haven't yet made up my mind if I should be offended you didn't speak to me first, or happy I get the final word. I hope Will didn't vex you too much. He's a good enough sort. Just enjoys his job a little more than he should. Into a smile plays across her lips. He thinks he's being sly, taking a cut of every toll, but he's told practically everyone what he's doing by now. Did Raidman have anything of note to tell you, or is he still wasting his time scouring dead bodies for information he'll never find? I will admit, he's led this group to some minor glories, but I fear I will end up if something doesn't change. She said to you. My name is Welby, first asked for the Bronze Brotherhood, though I'm not sure that title matters anymore. She pauses to gather her thoughts, then opens her mouth to continue. Instead, she exhales slowly and shakes her head. Never mind. Needn't be burdened with my problems. Oh, please, burden me. What can I help you with? Tell me about the Bronze Brotherhood. Welby laughs a little. We're mercenaries, plain and simple. I'm not going to pretend like it's anything more. While it's true we have in recent years been a little more stationary than your typical crew, it doesn't change the fact that our services can be purchased if the price is right. The voices made an offer to assure our cooperation, and we took it. If I had known Kairos would try to have us thrown out of our home afterward, well, I probably still would have taken the rings, but I would have been a little more prepared for the inevitable conflict. Rademan will try to sell you on the long and noble traditions, like we're some kind of altruistic saints who could do no wrong, but that story is as old and smelly as Grandma Beastman's tail hairs. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not going to take a job that doesn't seem right to me, but a ring's a ring, and I will go where the money leads me. One point Rademan and I agree on this. We did a job for Kairos, but we were not treated fairly. The Brotherhood is strong and we have the numbers. We'll fight to the last man. Just don't agree with Rademan's methods. How does dying get your money? I'm not really sure I understand this drive. What does it mean to be First Axe? I wish I knew, Fatebinder. First Axe protects and consults with the First Brother. Supposed to be Rademan's advisor, confident, guard. Lately his behavior has become erratic. He's acting paranoid, manic, distrustful. My duty as First Axe is to protect the First Brother, but I'm also sworn to protect the Brotherhood. If that means the removal of Rademan, so be it. He has too many supporters in Lithium's Crossing right now to speak out against him, though. What do you think has happened to Rademan? Honestly, I couldn't speak to the cause. It's just leadership, the battles with Kairos' forces, his night in the Old Walls. Welby shrugs. Does it matter? His behavior is endangering the Brotherhood, and he must be stopped before we're destroyed. Everyone is really forthcoming with all of this for someone that they're regarding as an enemy. I fear people will be hurt by far more than a simple toll. She points south. He's over there searching the corpses looking for information. I know he's not going to find it. He ambushed a patrol. He's going to anger an Archon. And for what? His pride? Well, how would you run the Brotherhood? I wouldn't waste time and resources on petty vendettas, that much I can tell you. I like battle. I like rings. With the Brotherhood, we used to get both regularly. Now all we have is fear, suspicion, and blood. I want the disciplined regiment back. And I intend to have it. I may agree that we were treated unjustly. Rademan's methods for obtaining restitution are despicable. Acting like a child when you don't get what you want is not the behavior of a leader. Except in this case, the child is in control of an army capable of laying waste to his home. Why are you forcing travelers to pay a toll? Rademan will say it's because it's what we're due. Part of me is inclined to agree with him, but if I were pressed, I would say his pride is hurt and he's lashing out. He'd be such a child sometimes. She looks quickly at her guards. Just watch yourself with him. He doesn't seem completely in control of his faculties lately. It's frightening to see what he's becoming. Did you not swear an oath to your leader, Sellsword? I know your loyalty is available to the highest bidder, but I never guessed that it extended into treachery. Rademon's plans could doom our entire troop, and I intend to prevent that from happening. I am loyal, not blindly devoted to someone intent on marching me off a cliff edge. Okay, we haven't gotten an option to support her. Interesting that we have these things to go here, but we can't really do a whole lot here without killing. What was I looking for? I don't know. Right, I should give this to someone. Probably you, just so you don't have those awful... Hey, Jay. How's it going? Okay, so what am I gonna do here? Katie is dying to know the title of the book on camera. Oh, I've got a twist for you. Where does it? Oh, it doesn't say here. This is the board game. Uh, okay, so what? Can I go talk to him again? No. So, I mean, I can kill him. That just seems like... I guess let's see. Do well to your tone when speaking to a Fatebinder. Care not for Kairos' forces. We rebuffed their feeble attempt to restore our rightful home once already. More than happy to try again. Okay. That didn't actually do anything. Kind of thought that would at least get us some wrath with them. My station means nothing? Okay. Is there a way around this without killing him? Interesting.
Can't do that.
Interesting. Okay, well, I guess for the moment we'll leave. I don't really see any reason to push the issue at the moment. So yeah, Iron Hall Trail. Oh, that's where I am. Can't go here. Okay. I can't go to Ironhearth. Interesting. Okay. Let's go, I guess. Oh, this looks fun. Well, this map is fully revealed. That's fun. Hey guys, how's it going? Halfway's dead.
Interesting.
Ooh. Ooh. That's cool.
Ah, got it.
How does this compare? So, Pillar of Courage. Wait, no. Your weapon, buddy. Immunity to Frightened. 8 Crushing. 8 Arcane. It's basically the same, except this gives him life, which seems good. Since he is our main healer. I mean, I could also use it, but I already have, well, I guess I don't have a special one, but I think my control vigor is not as high. Yeah, my control frost is much higher. Or my control life, rather, is, yeah, not very high, because I don't heal. Whereas his control life is pretty high. And that's... okay. Alright, good night, Jay. Thanks for popping in. I am not going to be streaming too much longer as well, anyway. Favorite soldier Chuckles was sustained in Skull's Course Fighter. Consider it, not for a second. Pick our soldiers from elite northern families. We don't recruit from flies buzzing over a mass grave. This favorite's so narrow-minded. My gang's strength delivered us across half a dozen battles with a line of fallen enemies in our wake. Not many conscripts can say the same. The question is not a matter of your skill, but of your breeding, your training, your pedigree. Noticing you, the Iron Guard salutes. Hail, Graven Ash, Fatebinder. If I might take a moment of your time, what do you need? This person comes representing a Scarlet Chorus gang. What did you call yourselves again? The Grinning Bleeders. We have the Grinning Bleeders. We have a long and storied reputation in the Scarlet Chorus ranks. Killers of the highest order, my gang. Puffs his chest out with pride. Before I was a boss here, I ran with the Broken Shits, Salty Nightmares, Trap Gang. Everyone made a name for themselves during the war. In any case, he's asking to join the disfavored, which is out of the question. I've explained the numerous reasons why we can't allow it, but the wretch won't listen. Is that accurate? It is. We're not looking for special treatment, just a new beginning. Seeing as we're healthy, fit, and combat ready, the Ironclad should have no reason to refuse us, he sniffs, especially since they're low on numbers. That may be true, but it's no excuse to pollute our respectable ranks with your company. We're more than capable. Put any weapon in our hands, or send us on any suicide mission. It'd be a mercy compared to what we faced under the voices in Arat. If we joined up, the disfavored wouldn't have to compromise their staunch northern morals. We'd take the bloody work off their hands. Do you want me to decide the matter? You must know Kyrus' laws back to front, and I trust you know our traditions as well. If it peels this lamprey off my backside, I'll allow it. Speaking for my gang, we'll accept your judgment. We're eager to crack some tearsmith skulls with Kyrus' army again, no matter what color they wear. Let me take your testimony first. I mean, so I think it's pretty clear that the disfavored would not accept you, buddy, regardless of what I say. If you don't want to work for the traitors, quote unquote, you can work for me! If I had a camera, I'd be grinning into the camera. Of course, I have nothing to hide. Why can't the recruits join the disfavored? Where do I start? Not only did Graven Ash hand-pick his disfavored from the decorated northern stock, he takes a personal interest in our training and education. We are his sons and daughters. To accept anything less than our ranks would hold the very process in contempt. The only capacity they could serve would be manual labor, hauling wagons or digging latrines, but that's the work of slaves and not what they've come requesting. Why did you leave the Scarlet Chorus? Our old gang boss fell at the last battle of Vendor as well. He saw that his favorite operated, and realized there was a chance for a better life. A longer one, too. Construction happens every day in the Scarlet Chorus. I can tell you won't be missed. But why this interest in the disfavored? Better training, better quarters, iron weapons. Disfavored did everything we wanted out of joining the military. We want to serve Kyrus to the best of our abilities. Is that asking too much? Old Ironclad here seems to think so. Their respect for command leaves something to be desired. I'm ready to make my ruling. I'm not going to ask them for a bribe. Good. Whatever's fair, we're prepared to stand by it. I love there's no options that are happy for them. They're just all fucked. I liked my idea, though. I need to start building up my army. I mean, maybe a Fatebinder's not supposed to have an army, but, you know. I'm gonna have some guards to defend my keep. A verse could get him into shape. God, they're all going to be upset at all of these. We don't want to execute them. Because desertion is not, at least according to them, desertion is not necessarily a crime for the Scarlet Chorus. They're not looking for hard labor. Also because we want to kind of encourage desertion, right? So I guess we just let them go. You're no longer in the military. Go live civilian lives. Keep Kairos' peace as best you can. Mercy, compassion, more than they deserve, but I'm glad to see it all the same. We've seen too much of the Scarlet Course to return to a normal life, but I won't deny that putting down roots is a tempting idea. Besides, in time the Course may just conscript us all over again. I've gained wrath with Blooded Mark. Weird. Only gets them out of Ash's Fort, it suffices for my needs. Thank you, Fatebinder. What was Blooded Mark's problem? Blooded Mark was watching. That doesn't tell me anything! You're very forgiving of deserters. Well, I didn't really think it was a problem. Greetings, Fatebinder. Akalos, 32nd Legion, Soldier salutes. Glad to see Tunon's agent grace Iron Hearth. Ash's troops has no lack of order, but a servant of the court is always welcome. Between our missing commanders and a Scarlet Course Lieutenant pinned down, I'm afraid we have our hands full. Suppose I could spare a moment of conversation. You need something from me? Tell me about the Scarlet Course Lieutenant. Seems our troops have this little maggot of a Scarlet Course Lieutenant cornered over at Kato Village. From what I'm hearing, it's the same guy who's been ransacking our caravans the past few weeks. If I wasn't already handling something brash, I'd go and skin the filth myself. You being here simplifies matters. Make sure this lieutenant doesn't leave the village with his life. I'll handle it. Good. Good of you to pitch in. No more than the loss of one more chorus rat. Where were you during the conquest? You could say I've seen the tears from top to bottom. I dug latrines at our encampment at the Gates of Judgment. My promotion sent me to Lethian's Crossing. Got to do a few rows with the Bronze Brotherhood. Not a pretty sight. I've had a brief deployment at Apex, but the fighting was winding down around when I arrived. So I did a tour of Stalwart, got transferred out before the Edict tore everything apart. How'd you join the Disfavored? Ahead of the conquest, Graven Ash sent recruiters to all the outlying towns looking for worthy talent. The village held a tourney in melee to demonstrate our local muscle. Nothing quite fancy, mind you. It was mostly fighting on hay bales, wooden spears. I had the distinction of toppling even the biggest contender. Familiar tale, went after my own heart. Varric nods with respect. It's a good thing I've succeeded. I'm more useful to Kairos in the field of battle than a field of wheat.
On it. Can't do that.
It's resting. I'll need to rest, but that's useful, I suppose. Whoop. Oh, I was like,
There. See
it's annoying that,
that?
the auto pause setting is for traps and hidden objects. Obviously, I want to pause for traps because I don't want to keep walking into them if I detect them. But I don't really, need to be doing it for hidden objects, but I guess, I mean, it makes sense. They're considered the same thing, I guess, but... Are these guys from before? You must be the Faintbinder of Tunon. Favorite Iron Walker bows. Welcome to Ironhearth. I guess not. I'm sure that Graven Ash appreciates any help you can offer. Super sets have a way of coming together, so the favors are always stretched thinner than we would like. Why is Favorite so overworked? We're trying to shoulder the brunt of the civil war without the strength of numbers. Scarred coursers throw out thousands of soldiers' bodies at an issue without a second thought. We're forced to be a little more discriminating. We trained to deal with the stress of combat and all-night drills, but we're fatigued even by the high standards we set for ourselves. Not that I need to burden nature in the core with my misgivings. Once the war is over and the tears are properly subdued, my hope is that Kairos dispatches some relief troops to support the occupation. We all deserve to see his rest. The court is always receptive to the needs of soldiers. Your point is noted. That's very generous of you to say, Fatebinder. I'm grateful to know that someone is listening. A nervous smile brightens her expression. Where were you during the conquest? Time among your wounds. Stalwart digging out survivors from the Legion. Afraid I didn't find much. Must have moved on by then, or else we would have assembled a team to excavate you. She glanced up at Barrack. My prison moved with me. There's no reason to tarry. Bows his head respectfully. Still think about the brothers and sisters you left behind. Sometimes I can imagine that I hear their voices carry on the wind.
Yes.
Dog. Zephylos. Even though you're not a fully fledged disabled recruit, I've been authorized to grant you purchasing rights from our store. Within certain limits, of course. Would you like to see what we have to offer? What limits are those? It's nothing personal, I assure you. Graven Ash wants us to control our supplies after restricting access to his army's supporters like yourself. Finest arms and fresh precisions are reserved for the soldiers under his direct command. I'm sure you understand. Yorkin takes our protection very seriously. Understood. Ooh. Are these... Wait, why do these have the... Oh, is that because they're superior? Is that what that means? Okay. Interesting. Wow. Ooh. Look at that. Lightweight. That's 10% recovery time. Neat. So, huh. Oh, it's interesting that these are functionally equivalent. It's just different, which damage types do you want specifically? Earthshaker robes. Cool. Nothing, Ooh, Sigil of Stone. Yes, I want that. But I can't afford it. Where's my selling? Oh, I guess it's in here. Okay. Wait, is this permanent? Oh, I guess that must be permanent. I had no idea. Pretty sure I can sell some of this stuff. I don't know if there's like crafting in this game. I don't think there is. much does that cost? 45. That's a lot. I'm just gonna sell some of this stuff right now, but
Yes.
I'm not gonna worry too much about it. Let's see, who's in here? Just Graven Ash? Something up here. Let's go in here. I don't know that I want to get talking to Graven Ash. I think I might just... We're right at the time for the stream, so I think we could just... Oh, hi everybody. Okay, well, we'll talk to him next time, I think. We'll just save here. Can I see the world map? I wonder if you can get there without going through here, or if I have to figure out how to get through there again. Alright, let us save. Oh, well, I'm glad to getting back into this game. It's pretty straightforward. Wasn't too hard. We did not. I mean, this is all dialogue. Entire 3 hours. Lot of exposition, but it's interesting. Looking forward to continuing to progress in this game. And yeah, I will be back next Monday to keep playing this, and I'll be back tomorrow with Quadrilateral Cowboy. Started that before. Gotta get back to that. That's a fun game if you haven't seen it. It's cool. You should check it out. But yeah, I appreciate everybody hanging out, chatting, watching. It's a lot of fun for me. I hope it's fun for you. And I hope you join me again in the future. Goodbye.